What's up, YouTube? So, where's it at? It's funny, it just not show up here because there's Jimmy Grabowski 8 hours ago. See, my brother did one. I just like an hour ago. Hmm. Theft investigation, huh?
Police are looking for leads after a 7-foot tall nutcracker figurine was stolen from the Coldstream Dam and Recreation Park
Really?
in Phillipsburg. State police say that nutcracker was stolen from the park along Port Matilda Highway sometime before.
See how I'm subscribed to this channel, WTAJ News, and it allows me to go to the channel now. At the beginning of my targeting, trying to understand. This is one of the main reasons that I felt my brother was involved because he's friends with the a lot of the employees that work at WTAJ News, and this only happened on this channel. On my Roku, it wouldn't allow me to go to this channel. Okay, it's just it would just come up blank. That's it. It would allow me to go on every other channel, and it would allow me to visit the WTAJ channel when I wasn't signed in, like on a different device. I'm saying, but on the Roku, just the Roku, it said no to WTAJ News, and I wouldn't get their suggestions pop up on my feed at all, like at all. It's somehow I'm very confident, right? And I've come to the conclusion in my head. I've concluded that I believe, speculating, but I believe that they one of the things that they do to filter out your information as a targeted individual is they control the flow of information. They pick what comes and what doesn't come to your you know from your DNS queries, right? So they just reroute you. If you think you have like a VPN or you think you're routing your IP address, no, it's whoever controls the final node, right? Whoever controls the final node controls the game. So you can have a VPN, you can have all this stuff working, but they're still in there. They still have that final node. They just let you think that you're hiding your traffic, right? Let you think you have control of your browser and your settings, but no. At the end of the day, they do. If there's something they don't want you to see, they just filter it out. Say, oh, nope, we don't want that getting the targeted Patton. We can't have him finding this out. We can't have him finding this out. So they control that. Imagine the advantage you would have over somebody if a group of people, right, was able to control the information that came to a certain person, so they can control everything he sees, and if he's searching for something, they can control whether he receives the information or not, or what information he receives. If you're looking for a solution to an answer, what if they provide the solution, only it's not the solution? It's kind of the opposite of the solution. I mean, this is the main theme with what they do is instead of it being, a handbook or having to train all these perps like what to do in certain situations, it's real simple. They just copy. They just mirror the target. They literally mirror the target. So if I'm looking for something online, I will find everything except for what I'm looking for. Say I do a search for how to change an alternator on a 2007 Pontiac G5. I will find videos on how to change an alternator, right, for everything from 2000 up to 2005, and then 2009 to present. I find all those videos, the ones that are different, not the ones I'm looking for, and a bunch of them for different cars and everything, but I won't find the video. It just, no matter how long I look, I won't find a video that says how to change an alternator for a 2007 Pontiac G5. You just won't find it. And this has happened time and time and time again, that any reasonable person with a rational mindset can look at it and say, okay, this is not a coincidence. How come everything I need to look up just happens to just not ever, nobody ever did a video on that subject, right? What kind of bad luck would a person have to have that every single thing they look for just so happens that nobody did a video on it? And there's no information on what they need to do to solve their problems, right? So it's like, to put it in perspective and to give somebody who's not targeted, who doesn't understand this the right context, imagine that advantage they would have. Imagine the disadvantage that the target would have when he's trying to solve a problem and he can't get any information, right? I mean, how many times do you rely on somebody else for information? You got that fix-it guy that knows everything, or you have, friends, family, loved ones that are, everybody has a, an expertise in something, right? Everybody is the expert on a certain subject, usually, and you have that one person you can go to and ask them. Well, if you're a targeted individual, okay, you might have that one person you can ask. But what if they're giving you the opposite answer? They're mirroring you. They're doing the opposite. Instead of giving you the right answer, they are going to give you the exact opposite of the right answer. But they'll they'll have you believe it's the right answer. Okay, and this is all in an attempt to make you look stupid, to get you stuck, right? To leave you walking in circles. And this has happened time and time again. That you can't tell me that this is just something I see a pattern in. The pattern doesn't exist. This is absolutely one of their main most effective tools. They don't have to train the perp to do anything. They just tell the perp, just do the opposite. Just mirror him. If he blames you guys for something, blame him for it and blame him worse. Make it sound, ramp it up a little bit. You know, and this is what they do. This is exactly what they do. If you try to film your gang stalkers, they're gonna film you and call you, say that you're stalking them, and that you're a creep. Why are you stalking them? Who does that? Who goes around recording people? You're the stalker. That's what they do, right? This is exactly what they do. I had people that were supposed to be my friends, right? Whenever I was a first time gun owner and I bought my pistol in 2020, and I didn't have the concealed carry permit yet. Okay, so I just had open carry in Pennsylvania. You can open carry, but if you need to get in a vehicle, you need to drive to the range, the shooting range. Well, then that poses the question: what do you do with your firearm then? Because as soon as you get in the car with that firearm, it's concealed. As soon as that firearm enters that vehicle, it's considered concealed, and then it's a felony. You know, possession of a concealed weapon. Right? It doesn't matter if you have it on the dash. It doesn't matter if you have it in a lockbox in the trunk. It doesn't matter. It's still in that vehicle. Technically, it's considered concealed, and you can get a felony for it. So I had multiple people that were supposed to be my friends, multiple people, okay, telling me, going out of their way to tell me, hey, whatever you do, if you get in the vehicle with that until you get your permit, just whatever you do, make sure you have it out and in the open. This is what they told me to do. They told me as if they've been there, done that, and this is what I need to do, right? And I even questioned it. I'm like, really? That doesn't make much sense. And then it kind of did. If you don't know, and somebody tells you want to have it out in the open, that way there's no question. They can see it and it's not concealed, right? You want to have it out and up on the dash or open on the seat beside you, right there open, not locked up, not under the seat, not in the trunk, not separate from the ammo. No, just make sure you have it right there where they can see it. Okay. This is what they told me to do. I swear to God. And then whenever you just like kind of forget about everybody else and just look at it with your own critical thinking and your own rational mind, and if it doesn't sound right, it's probably not right. They're probably giving you the wrong answer. This is what they'd like to do. So when I said, repeated it back to myself, and I questioned it to myself, well, myself, I said, self, that's not right. Hey, self, listen to yourself because these guys are idiots. Whether they're right or wrong, listen to yourself because you've never let yourself down. You've always steered yourself in the right direction, self. So go ahead and listen to yourself and fuck these other guys. So I did just that. I listened to myself, right? I didn't do what they said to do. And shortly after that, I had a run in with two state police, a close encounter run in. Like, um, you know, a it was a non consensual, interaction. We were just coming out of the woods from going fishing, and here we had to cross over. It wasn't posted, but we had to cross over somebody's private property to get to the creek to fish. And that person called the cops, right? Because we drove over his, through his property on a path, right? There was a path to get to the creek. We used that path to get to the creek. And before we could come back out, make our way back out with my car, um, he had called the cops so that whenever I went to exit the woods, had to come out the same way I came in, there would be two state cops, one on each side of the path, standing out there by the road. Okay, and here's me, right, with the new pistol, and it's here. It's I'm gonna find out one way or another what the right answer is, right? That's that's what I. Hey, it's a blessing, right? A blessing. Thank you for giving me the wrong answer, perps. Because had you not given me the wrong answer, I might not have questioned it. I might have never asked the question. The thought might not have even crossed my mind to even ask the right person, the experts, what to do in that situation. So as I came out and drove out of the woods here from the creek, I I just told myself, okay, just don't take your hands off the wheel and make sure you don't, just common sense, And as soon as I got up, I didn't even get up to them yet. I had my windows down, and I lifted my hand up off the wheel and pointed straight down to the gun, and I said, "I have a pistol here. Just letting you know, I have a pistol here." Okay, before anything. Okay, I did that because I'm sorry. That seemed like the very important, crucial thing to do is to let them know, hey, I have this pistol right here. So if there's any question about it, if I don't say anything and they say, gun, 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 he's got a gun, that pop, pop, you're dead, right? So, and I'm not an idiot. I'm an Army veteran, but I was never a gun owner until 2020, right? And then they really made sure to test me, right? They made sure that if I was going to be an irresponsible gun owner, they were going to make sure that it happened. They tried to get me to provoke somebody, or they tried to provoke me. The guy put his hands on me, right? It was clearly set up. He put his hands on me. He called me a child molester, and they know that that's a touchy subject with me, so that's why they did it, right? And this motherfucker, Kent John, is his name. He's a heroin addict in town, and he was a junkie, and he had gotten in trouble, but he didn't get in trouble, right? He actually did commit breaking and entering, okay, on his home. His ex-wife, they were split up. She kicked him out. He wasn't living there, but he broke into the house, right? And the cops ended up having to address the situation. They were looking for him because he broke into the house. Now, do you think they put him all over the news? Do you think they smeared his name? Do you think they went and said, hey, this local junkie, we're looking for him, for breaking and entering into a premises, and there was somebody that actually reported this. It wasn't just the cops. His ex-wife tried to report this. So they made sure they just put the word out on the low, low. You heard it like word on the street is, not on the news. It was just through the back channels. I heard this from a couple people that they were just looking for Kent, but he didn't have a warrant. They made sure that they made sure to include that fact, that detail. He did not have a warrant. He wasn't in trouble. He did not have a warrant. The cops just wanted to talk to him. about him breaking and entering into his ex-wife's house. Okay, now then you compare it to my situation, right, where I did not return to my apartment after they illegally trespassed me, right? When you're trespassed, you're not guilty of trespassing, okay? Of defiant trespassing. It's only once you're trespassed, if you return, that is defiant trespass, okay? That's where you get charged. They have to give you an opportunity to leave once they verbally trespass you, okay? Or officially, which the only people that can officially trespass you from a property is the manager, is the building, is the owner, okay? They have to communicate to you via a written form, an actual form with your identifying information on it stating that you are hereby trespassed from this property. And technically they have to serve it to you to make sure that you've seen the notice. Now, at this point, I had even asked the police officers, Dillhole and Brian Drass, right, whenever they did the illegal eviction to begin with, okay? They steamrolled me, they railroaded me, didn't allow me to have a hearing, right? They had the hearing finished before it was even time for my hearing, and they just said, "You're burnt." Okay, so I was waiting for the next hearing, and all of a sudden I got a knock on the door, and they said, "Oh, that's it. You got 15 minutes to get your stuff and get out." And that was Brian Drass, and Dillhole came up, and I have him on recording stating it's not his deal. He's just there because to keep the peace because Brian Drass called him, so he was just doing his job there. He was playing the good cop. He's nothing he could do. His hands are tied. He's not allowed to intervene, right? It's a civil matter. Tenant tenant landlord disputes. Civil matter, not criminal. They're not allowed to get involved. So I just complied at that point, right? And but in the meantime, I was trying to get a hold of the landlord. Okay, I hadn't talked to her in 6 months. She was dodging me. Okay, and not only did my lease run out on May 1st, right? They owed me money. I had $350 in the form of utility allowance checks up in the office. So I was in the positive $350. I didn't know any back rent. Okay, so that don't listen to these bullshit stories. Oh, you didn't pay your rent, you got evicted. No, that's not what happened at all. As a matter of fact, everybody had a new lease at that point. Everybody from that period, from April to the end of June of 2021, everybody had a new lease because they issued brand new um, lease terms and rules, right? Property rules. And this is the first time they had done that in years, right? So they changed all the rules around. They had a new lease, and you had to sign that new lease by the end of June, no later than June 30th, 2021, okay? And I had a copy of this new lease, right? So I had prior notification that I had to the end of June to let them know whether or not I would comply with these new lease terms, okay? And as of May 1st, my old written lease was up, okay? On May 1st. So technically on May 1st, I owed them for the entire month of May, okay? Which would have been $795, okay? They waited 3 days, I think, and then they sent it to the magistrate 3 days. Now, normally in the lease terms, which are null and void now because I didn't sign a new lease and they were issuing these new lease terms anyway for everybody. So there's really no written lease at all for anybody at this point. And they they usually give you 10 days. It says right in the lease that you have a 10-day grace period if you're late after 10 days. So if it would have been like May 10th, then they charge you an extra $20. Okay, an extra $20. That's their terms. That was their reasonable standard terms for everybody. So when they went and filed the illegal eviction on me on May 3rd or 4th, I think might have been the 5th, if I'm not mistaken, the 5th at the very latest. However, the Federal Bureau of Consumer Protection had just issued a memorandum, right, for all landlords, all property managers, okay, per the federal government. They were not to evict anybody, right? They were not allowed by law with, they could face federal criminal prosecution if they violate this memorandum, right? Put out by the Federal Bureau of Consumer Protection on May 3rd of that year. That's when they put this memo out that stated that they are not allowed to serve anybody with a notice to quit or a try to collect a debt or anything like that or try to evict anybody without providing the tenant at the time of the notice. They had to provide the tenant with the information and the resources, the information to take advantage of the resources, the emergency rental assistance program, the eviction moratorium. Okay, all you had to do was self-certify. So you just had to print out this paper online, and you had to certify yourself, right? And you had to, give it to the landlord. That was what your duty was to notify them of the memorandum that you were self-certifying, and you had to file for the emergency rental assistance program. Now, I did these things. I already did these things. I self-certified. I still have the documents saved and time date stamped in my cloud. I have the files. Okay, I have them backed up to this day. I have these documents. I can prove to you that I had filed my eviction moratorium self-certification. I had filed for eviction emergency rental assistance program and was approved. Okay, and was approved. And they were even notified that they're not allowed to do this, to serve any notice to quit to anybody without providing them that information at that time. They had to hand it to them at the same time. Now, they did not do that. As a matter of fact, they also tried to make sure that I didn't get the memo that went out to everybody in HUD, in subsidized housing. Anybody in subsidized housing got a notice a month or two prior to that that gave them information about the memorandum, right? The eviction moratorium. Well, they just included mine. Everybody got one in their mailbox, except for me, except for targeted Patton. They actually put mine in my neighbor's mailbox. This is what they would do when they wanted to lose my mail and they didn't want me to get something. They'd just put it in the neighbor's mailbox, and everybody would play dumb, right? And they would pretend like it. Oh, yeah, I didn't see it. I didn't notice. Sorry. Oops. Okay. But the neighbor that they included it with, she actually let me know. Anyway, she said, yeah, they included your mail with mine for some reason, and it didn't make any sense because that same day I had gotten my mail in my mailbox, right? And I had taken advantage of a service from the post office where you can sign up for I forget what it's called, but they send you an email with a picture of your mail before they even deliver it. Okay, informed delivery, I think it was called, right? And I had informed delivery on. I have literally the pictures showing that this is the mail I'm supposed to get this day. Now I got some of the mail I was supposed to get that day, but that one letter, just what do you know? What a coincidence! That one letter ended up not making it to my mailbox, but it found its way into another mailbox. Okay, and it's not like you could just, oops, I slipped and dropped that one and it ended up in the wrong mailbox. The mailbox it ended up in was on the opposite side. Like I'm on the left and hers was all the way on the right. I'm on the top, hers was on the bottom. Something like that. It was the exact opposite. So how the fuck it would have ended up in her mailbox is beyond me, right? But thankfully, I was already aware of this eviction moratorium anyway, because I was trying to look into the privacy concerns because my building manager was involved in this. She clearly let me know. It was very obvious that they were involved in this and complicit in this because of the inspections. When they went and did their inspections for the first time in 4 years that I lived there, they did these inspections that they're supposed to do quarterly. And they gave us notice that they were going to be doing the inspections. Like they have to give you 24-hour notice. So I actually took off work and everything and was waiting for them for days. And they didn't get to me that day. Maybe they'll get to me the next day. The next day, take off work, because I didn't want to let them go. I wanted to be there when they came in to inspect my apartment. Obviously, when all this shit's going on, you don't really trust somebody to be in your apartment when you're not there, right? So I tried to do everything I could to make sure they didn't enter my apartment without me there. Finally, 2 weeks go by, right? And then they just dicked around. So I'm supposed to just be on notice. You just let me know 2 weeks ago that you could be coming to do inspections within 24 hours. And then you just don't. You just show up when you want. That's not how that works. You can't do that. So finally, I said, fuck it. I got to go to work. So I put a note on the door, and I have a dog. And I wrote on the note, I said, I waited, I waited. You gave me notice, and I waited. If 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 you need to inspect my apartment, um, please call me first. Don't please do not just go in my apartment. I haven't heard anything in 2 weeks. And my dog will bite you. My dog was inside, and I had the paperwork for my dog. I had medical paperwork for my dog. I also had his rabies shots, and I had him up to date on all his shots. And I had you had to have a prescription from a doctor to have the dog. I had all this, all the documentation. So other tenants, though, other people that were perps, right, had two dogs, right? His apartment was disgusting. I mean, disgusting. There was bugs coming out of his apartment, and he had two dogs that would attack everybody and would attack my dog every time I tried to go outside. And they kept having puppies. 2 or 3 times they had puppies. The building manager told me this. She's the one that told me this. And they didn't do anything about it. You know what she did? She actually said to me, because their dogs kept attacking my dog, right? So I went, after the third time, I told her, I said, I'm not here to tell on anybody, but I'm just letting you know that Harry's dogs, are they're kind of a problem, but I don't want Harry to have any problems. So I'm not making a complaint or anything. I'm just letting you know that his dogs are aggressive towards my dog, um, in case you were told something else. So I did this proactively in case she was, because I didn't know if she had been told anything, but it happened 3 times. So I didn't know if they were going to her saying my dog was attacking them. That's what I suspected, or that's what I, assumed they would do, right? They blame it on me. It's the mirroring. That's what they do. So I just mentioned it to her, and she proceeded to defend this guy. This guy that his nickname was Heroin Harry. Okay, Heroin Harry. That was his nickname. You don't get a nickname like that because you're a a righteous stand up member of the community, right? That's sorry. So I just said about the dog. She said, "Well, the problem is you need to get your dog neutered. You need to get your dog neutered. That's what the problem is. It's my dog's fault." This is what she told me. It's my dog's fault that these other dogs, who's has puppies and everything else, and are not fixed, a male and a female, have had puppies twice, and they're crazy, right? It's my fault that they're aggressive towards my dog because my dog isn't fixed. I said, that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. At the time, he was like 12, and he got along with, you could have the meanest dog in the neighborhood that didn't get along with anybody. My dog got along with that dog. Okay? Everybody knew who Weezer was, you know? Which I haven't mentioned this. Weezer passed away in August last year. He was 14 and a half years old. So I miss him. But he tried to gaslight me, tried to say it was my fault that his dogs were aggressive. And every time I tried to go, let my dog out, of course, every time without fail, there comes Heroin Harry letting his dogs out, and he would just conveniently, oops, I dropped my leash, and his dogs would come after my dog. Right? You see what I'm saying? Like, this happened over and over and over again. Okay? Until one day they attacked my daughter, and she drew blood. I remember it was her middle finger. They got a hold of her finger, and she was trying to protect Weezer, right? She picked him up and was trying to protect him, and they went after her, and they bit and drew blood on her hand. Okay. Now, like I said, I'm not one to cause somebody problems. So I had talked to Heroin Harry about it, and we, to my understanding, we were on the same page. I explained to him I didn't want him to have any problems. Their dogs just take, just um, get control of them. They're your responsibility. Make sure this doesn't happen again, and we won't have a problem. You know. But that's when I went to talk to the landlord about it to make sure, that what on the surface, what I was told was what everybody, I want to make sure we're all on the same page. Not me over here on this page while they in the back of the book while they're right over here on the fucking cover page saying Sergeant Patton's dog's fucking a menace to society. The little white fluffy dog, that wags his tail and he could just puppy dog eyes for days. Yeah, he's just a menace to society. So she went to bat and started defending this guy, saying it's my fault that they're aggressive. And then she said, and I'll try to quote verbatim. She said, "Well, if he was an emotional support dog. I had a prescription for him. Okay. Then she made me go and get more paperwork filled out and pay money from my doctor who wrote the prescription because that wasn't good enough. Now, do I think that every other person that had a dog had to go through the same thing? Fuck no. Fuck no. Most of the people didn't even try to keep it a secret that they had a dog. You think they went and got all the proper paperwork? Fuck no. But she was, put it on me. They were trying to find any reason they could, right, to write me up or to do whatever. Like I said, they did not want me there because at this point I was on to what they were doing, right? I, I was, they tried to call me crazy before I said anything to anybody, so they gave themselves away there. I had video, hours and hours and hours of video, still have it, of the different vehicles doing the harassment and stalking. And I could show it patterns of behavior by certain vehicles, and I could identify the vehicles that are the culprits and absolutely be able to uh, show a pattern of behavior by a group of people to a jury and convince them, that these people are gang stalking me. Okay, I could do my part. I could show a clear pattern of behavior by a certain group of people. Okay, to which their plausible deniability goes right out the fucking window. So I was documenting all this, and I still have it documented. And they know this. They know that I was doing the research and I was getting the information I needed. And as hard as it was, it's very difficult. Whenever they filter all your information, they tell you to make sure you have your gun out in the open on the seat. Shit like that. They tell you all the opposite information. It's pretty hard, and they're blown away whenever the situation actually comes up, right? And what do you know? You don't follow what they told you to do, right? Because you trust your intuition, right? And you just trust your gut. Don't do what they tell you or what they get or trying to get you to do. Just don't do that, and you'll be all right. So they couldn't do anything about the dog thing, and then I said about the puppies, to the guy. He had puppies twice, but she said, "Well, if anybody should be qualified to have a service animal, it's him." So there she is now discriminating against me, telling me to my face that she doesn't think that I need an emotional support dog. She doesn't think that that I it it's not even a comparison. Why are you even comparing it and trying to do that? It's a mute point. The point is the relevancy here is his dogs are aggressive and they're a danger to the other tenants, and they time and time again attack, causing bodily harm to other tenants, and they're disturbing, you know, your rights, the other tenants' rights to feel protected in their person, place, and effects, right? That's a violation right there, right? Borderline constitutional rights violation. And the building manager, that's her job to make sure that these things are, you know, enforced and everything, to make sure that the tenants feel safe and feel, welcome. Not sit there and gaslight and tell your tenants that, well, I don't think that even though your doctor wrote this for you, and even though he filled out this other paperwork, and even though you have all the paperwork, and your dog doesn't bother anybody, right? He doesn't bark, and he's just the cutest little dog, uh, right? She's still gonna try to say that my dog is a problem or something. It obviously was not gonna work, right? But they tried that route, so I didn't trust the bitch. Why would I trust her? It was weird, right? It was very weird the way that this happened. And whenever these other tenants bought alcohol from my 14-year-old daughter when she was 14, and if you have a police called, if you have any type of law enforcement or police have to show up, it's an automatic violation. It's an automatic write-up, police violation. And they didn't come to my apartment. They came to the perpetrator's apartment because I went to confront them. And that's whenever they threatened to call the cops on me. So I called for them. So here, let me help you with that. I called 911, and then the boyfriend, Mark Bowman, comes out from hiding behind the door and sucker punches me in the face while I'm on the phone with 911. I drop the phone. They're sitting there saying, 911, what's your emergency? And I look at him and I look at the phone and I was like, they're on the phone, Mark. Do you want to talk to him or what? And I bend over to pick up the phone and he kicks me. He tries to kick me down the steps. Okay, this fucking happened. The 911 dispatch, whoever I spoke to, she heard it all. She clearly heard all of that take place. And I said, well, my emergency, I was calling to report, um, a danger to children with somebody furnishing alcohol to a minor, to minor um, female teenage girls, But I guess now it turned into an assault, a domestic dispute, an assault. So I said that's kind of more pressing issue. So we'll go with that, And then she made me exit the building, okay? Because they ran after he kicked me. He ran in his apartment, and shut and deadbolted the door, locked the door. Literally ran his apartment, shut the door, and deadbolted it. I'm like, what the fuck, People are nuts, man. So I was waiting on the phone. I wasn't trying to leave the building. I want to make sure they didn't take off. And she's telling me to get out of the building, get to a safe area. I said, oh, I'm safe. They deadbolted the door. They ran away. I said, I don't want to. I want to make sure that they don't take off out the back door here. And she's like, no, you have to get out of the building. So I walked. I got out of the building, and I stood right outside the main door, looking in, right, to make sure they didn't bolt out the back door until the police arrived. And it was Travis Schilling and Dillhole. Both showed up to this. Okay. So that was a police interaction where, it's a violation, right? If any police are called, it's a violation of your lease. So 3 days went by and Travis Schilling was ignoring me. He said he was going to talk to my daughter at the school and he was going to get their statement real quick and then he was going to come get my statement and, any evidence, right? Like pictures of the assault that took place, you know, and the teenagers. He had to talk to the teenagers, I'm sure, because they were, there's a crime committed here, right? It's not just a gray area. That's a clear and present danger and a crime committed. I had screenshots of her admitting that she about to getting this alcohol to furnish to the minors. If somebody had a conscience and they did the right thing and they sent me the information, this Carrie Styles admitted to doing this. Then she spent 2 hours trying to find somebody with a valid ID to purchase the alcohol because her ID was expired. So she had to even get somebody else to purchase the alcohol. And I said, I know where they bought it, when they bought it, what they bought, who she got to buy it, and I have the screenshots to back it up. I said, I have everything. He shut me up real quick. He's like, okay, just go down to your apartment. Don't come back up here, he said. I'll be down to talk to you. He said, I'm going to talk to them and then I'll be back. Because whenever he showed up, little chicken wing, Carrie Styles, she comes out with her ID in her hand. And I already knew her ID was expired. She comes out with it in her hand, waving it around. And whenever he asked what the issue was and I started to tell him, what happened, she interrupts me, rolls her eyes, and says, well, it's pretty hard to buy alcohol for somebody when your ID's expired. Right? Which that never even came up in conversation at all whenever I confronted her. And I said, what the fuck is wrong with you? Buying alcohol for my fucking daughter and not talking to me? Not what is your problem? She never denied it and said, I didn't buy it. My ID's expired. No, she knew she bought it. She called me a narcissist and said that she should call the cops on me for leaving my kids home alone. Right? That's when I said, okay, here, let me help you out with that, Carrie. You know, don't tempt me with a good time, because I'll take it every day of the week. You fucking retard. Don't try to bluff. It ain't gonna work. I can't be intimidated, right? And I don't care if I'm not gonna like you're not gonna use fear on me. You're not gonna be able to intimidate me into not doing something and not saying something. Sorry, even if it means my ass, I'm still gonna say and do the right thing. You know, just to prove a point to you. If you think that you're above the law, or you think that you that you're just gonna get one over on old targeted Patton, right? So 3 days went by and Travis Schilling was ignoring me. After he went into their apartment and spoke with them for, I was told, about an hour, and they came out all buddy buddy, all chummy is what the wording that I was provided with. That they were like, oh, chummy chummy, I guess is the way they put it, the neighbors. Because I woke all the neighbors up at 9 in the morning too, when I was beating on her door. About beat her door down to see what the fuck her problem was buying this alcohol for these 14-year-old girls. Because you know what she bought? It's one thing if you buy some wine coolers or something, or a bottle of Arbor Mist, or you know what I mean, like maybe some pucker, some apple pucker or something. That's one thing, right? But when you buy 14-year-old girls who had never drank before in their life, right? Mine didn't anyway at that point, and you get them um, a 4 pack of Four Locos. Do you know what Four Locos are? Four Locos have like 13% alcohol. It's like a malt beverage. They taste really, really good. They don't even taste that strong. And they have energy drink in them too. That's why they call them Four Loco. In Pennsylvania, you can go into a 6 pack shop and you can buy a 6 pack of alcohol and drink it right there inside the 6 pack shop. Or you can take it with you. But in Pennsylvania, on college campuses, they banned Four Locos. They weren't even allowed to sell them on the college campuses because of the danger with college kids drinking them. And I know the 6 pack shop that I would go to, I wasn't allowed to drink it in there. If I bought it, that's the one thing. If I bought it, they said no, you're not allowed to drink that in here. You have to take that with you. You can drink all the beer you want in here, but you're not allowed to drink the Four Locos in here. That's what they bought these girls. And if that's not enough, a 6 pack or whatever of the bigger 24 ounce Mike's Harder iced tea, and it's like 8% alcohol. It's not just like Mike's Harder lemonade that's like 5. It's the 8% Mike's Harder iced tea or whatever it was. I just remember it being 8%. So that's fucked up. And my ex-wife, actually, I found out later on, she was in communication with Carrie Stiles, um, and had told her to do this for my daughter and her friends. So they organized it behind my back. Here I am, a single dad with raising these kids of my own, and I have conspirators, their own mother, going behind my back, right, and cooking up fucking schemes for what? To kill them? Like what the fuck are you trying to do? You know what I mean? It's one thing if you're gonna be my ex-wife, if you're gonna be an hour and a half away and you decide you don't want to be a mother anymore to your children, that's fine. But if you're going to do that, then stay the fuck away. Don't be calling my people in my neighborhood and telling them to buy alcohol that could kill my daughter for her and her friends. Yeah, please don't do that. What the fuck is wrong with you? You know? So that's my dear ex-wife, right? Who I'm pretty sure, I'm confident, just based off the comments I've gotten from people and the remarks I've heard, people said that, oh, I'm a drug addict and a woman beater. I've heard that one a few times now. I'm a woman beater. I have never fucking laid a hand on a woman in my life, and I'm totally against that. I would actually, my ex-wife would beat on me, and I would just take it, and whatever. I would never hit back. I wouldn't even restrain her, nothing. I would just walk away from the situation because she had a temper. If she didn't get her way, then you better believe she was try to run you over, or she's going to sit there and punch you over and over again. But I'm pretty sure that there's a bunch of people that she was able to convince, or she told a different story. She told that I was a narcissist, a master manipulator, that that I'm what an abuser, controlling, abusing spouse, right? Abusive spouse. This is all absolutely false, opposite of what I am, complete opposite. There's absolutely no evidence to that whatsoever. It never has been. She tried to run me over twice, my ex-wife did. And there's witnesses to this. It happened at 4 in the morning when and Darlene, just Darlene Gillette, and her daughters would deliver the paper at 4 in the morning. They go around, deliver to the stores, and it just so happened that my ex-wife was drunk. I was sober because we were supposed to go get our kids, and she was supposed to be the designated driver, so I could drink. Well, after for we each had 2 drinks, it was time to stop drinking. For the designated driver, but she didn't want to, so I had to be the bigger adult and stop drinking anyway, even though it was supposed to be my turn to be able to get drunk. So I stopped drinking, sobered up, and then she tried to go home with that other people at the bar because she was smashly, right? She tried to go home with other people at the bar, and I didn't allow her to make a decision she was going to regret. I wouldn't leave her alone, right? So when we left the bar, I made sure that we left together. I made sure that we went home together. That I protected my wife from doing something she was going to regret, right? So, and it wasn't like I was being controlling either. I just wasn't going to leave her. I said, no, you're not. I said, you're not going to go running with these like other guys that you want to, like, what, you want to get all horny and try to cheat on me when you're drunk. I said, well, good luck doing that if I'm there. You're not going to do that. Sorry. I'm not going to allow you to do that and then embarrass me, your family, in embarrassment to everybody. You know what I mean? Fuck that. Because Ashley had a way of, she could talk to anybody and come off as just the sweetest thing in the world, right? Just a sweetheart. She's just such a nice person, a sweetheart on the surface, right? And I didn't even find this out really till after being married with her to 10 years. After 10 years of being married to her, I literally looked at her and I said, I don't know who you are. That you're not the person I married. Not at all. Who the fuck are you? Because she got me worked with the probation officers, lied to them. I was on house arrest for driving under suspension because she was fucked up whenever we quit doing drugs. She didn't want to quit doing drugs. I did. So we went to the drive-in one night. We're leaving. I'm sober. She's not sober. She said she was sober, but she wasn't. And when we left the drive-in that night, it was the end of the season, so it was a triple feature. There's 3 movies at the drive-in, so we didn't get out of there till 2:30 in the morning. And after the curvy road between Portage and Crescent, after she about killed us 2 or 3 times, nodding off, going around these turns, right? In a Jeep, okay, we drove a 94 Jeep Cherokee that was a 2-door, 5-speed, a stick. And she's nodding off. I made her pull over, and it was Crescent. I made her pull over in Crescent. I said, I don't care if I get pulled over. because my license was suspended, and if I would get pulled over, I could get another year suspension, whatever, get, you know, bigger trouble. I was trying to get my license back, but the same thing kept happening. So I said, I don't care. I'll take the risk, you know. And we switched places. And we got through Crescent, and right outside of Crescent on the way to Patton, boom, lights behind me. I get pulled over. What do you know? And then Officer Finocchio, he was all right, though. He even told us, he said, I thought you were somebody leaving the bar because of the timing. It was like 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. And he said, really, you didn't really do anything. I was in the Jeep, and that Jeep, the alignment was really loose, so it would just kind of sway back and forth in the lane. It wasn't very, if you've ever drove a Jeep like that, you know what I'm talking about. So he even admitted to me, he's like, well, you might have touched the line a little bit. He said, but I honestly thought you were somebody leaving the bar. So he said, oh, I'm going to cut you a break. My son was in the back laying down sleeping from the drive-in, and he wasn't buckled in. So he said, I'm going to cut you a break on the child restraints. He said, because that's a big fine. You don't want that one. And I told him that my license was suspended, and that I was driving because she was falling asleep. And he said, like I said, he was going to cut me a break on the seatbelt thing, but I'd get something in the mail. And he made her get back in the driver's seat. Swear to God. And then we went home. So I got a court summons in the mail a couple weeks later saying I had to appear for a court hearing instead of just the driving under suspension fine. Now I had a court hearing. And at that court hearing, that's when they sent it up waived it to court, to the county court of common pleas for intermediate punishment. So, meaning house arrest or probation or whatever, because the judge at the time, it was my eighth driving under suspension at that time, my eighth one. And at that point, I wasn't very good at paying my fines, and she knew my name already, Judge Naleski, because notoriously she'd have to send the constables after me for not paying my fines prior to that, which is the fines that I got that suspended my license to begin with. So she said 2 months in jail. She was going to sentence me to 2 months in jail right then and there on the spot. She was mad because the public defender and the police officer were both advocating for me, and they were advocating for house arrest or some form of intermediate punishment so I could keep going to work and providing for my family, right? So I ended up going to the Court of Common Pleas, and Krummenacher, right? He decides to give me 6 months house arrest. 6 months house arrest because I did the right thing. And I make that decision every day of the week, over and over again. It doesn't matter because that the house arrest, the fines, none of it is worth risking, my life, my child's life, my ex-wife's life, just because I don't want to get what? Because I don't want to get a fine. Fuck that. I'm gonna make that same decision over and over again, and I don't think anybody would disagree with me there. So whenever they gave me 6 months house arrest, right, it it sucked. I was the breadwinner, you know. I worked every day of my fucking adult life at that point, and there now all of a sudden I'm not going to be able to you know go to work every day. My license suspended for another year, a $1,200 fine, and 6 months house arrest, which alone cost $2,400. Right, all this shit. So we go through all that, and I had 5 days to go. 5 days to go on my house arrest. Okay, 5 fucking days left. And my ex-wife apparently had worked this scheme up in the months leading up to this. She had worked this scheme up to get rid of me, to make it easy for her to just take the kids, take custody, and do whatever she wants, you know, and just put me down, get me locked up. That's what her plan was, get me locked up last minute, so then she could do whatever she wanted, right? So I got a phone call, fucking 5 days before I was set to be off house arrest, and Pam Neff, I'd never talked to her before in my life at that point. Pam Neff happened to be married, the wife of my daughter's second grade teacher at the time. What do you know, right? What do you know? So God only knows what these people were told. Obviously, it was lies. Okay, whatever they were told. My ex-wife is she. Listen, she's good. She has this way about her where she can just play innocent and dumb, right? And you look at her and you could never imagine that she'd be capable of making up these atrocious lies about somebody or doing anything like this because she's just such a sweetheart, right? So I don't see. I get it. I can imagine how easy it was for her to do this. You know, just say a couple bad things about me to the right people, right? And then all of a sudden it's just a targeted targeted Patton bashing fest, right? So I'm the last guy to hear anything now. They all talk shit on me about shit that's untrue, and they don't they make sure you don't hear it because it's because they know that they're lying. So this happened, and I go up and had to go in front of this bitch, Pam Neff, and she threw me in jail. Okay, I failed a piss test, and she threw me in jail. But like I said, I have 5 days to go. I had never been piss tested for this house arrest. I didn't have to do anything except pay my fines and pay and not leave my house, And I did all that. Fucking 5 days to go, and she got me violated. So threw me in jail. So I was in there for 9 days, and in those 9 days, my ex-wife drained my bank account. She took the money that was already set to come out of the account for the electric bill, took that and used it for a first month's rent and security deposit um, on an apartment. My mom helped her with that, bought her a fridge, bought her a couch because she wanted to make sure that Ashley didn't try to keep the kids from her. So while I was in jail, so here I am in jail, and I can't get out unless somebody pays $1,200. Well, my account's empty. The $800 that was just in there that I just got paid, yeah, she took that and drained that. And my mom didn't have any extra money because she just bought Ashley a couch and a fridge, right? And helped her with her first month's security deposit and rent in her new apartment because the electricity got shut off at the house that I was buying, that I had halfway paid off, that I ended up having to give up as well, right? So they did this to me in 2013. Tried to make me homeless and took all my stuff. So it's just stuff. You know what I mean? They make more stuff every day, and you can't take it with you when you're dead. So it's just stuff. But I got out. I got a week time served, and then another month of house arrest is what my sentence was for that violation. And it's understandable. It's reasonable. And that was Judge Timothy Creaney up at the main courthouse. Timothy Creaney. I've never had any bad problems with him. He's been a good judge, very fair. Crewman Knocker, on the other hand, he knocked me right in the fucking head. He cracked me with 2 months in jail after this. So after this, I go back and I'm doing my house arrest or whatever, and I'm doing good. I'm not doing drugs now. I'm clean. She's still doing them, fucking up, not being the mom she should be. So she's actually making it easier for me. Her plan was to make it easier for her to take, her meal ticket and just ride off into the sunset. She thought getting me thrown in jail and everything was just going to make it just everything just happens for her. She don't even have to do anything. Well, it would have been really easy for her to do that if she just wouldn't have been such a piece of shit. But she decided to be a piece of shit and keep doing drugs and not be a parent. So whenever 2 months goes by pretty quick whenever you're not in jail, right? So this Pam Neff, like 2 weeks into my house arrest, she's hounding me like a crazed bitch that she is, right? She's hounding me. Oh, your paperwork better check out, and you better get a time stamped everywhere you go. If you have a dentist appointment, you have to have them sign this paper saying what time you entered and exited that office, and all this bullshit. Even though it's crazy bullshit, right? I'm like, what the fuck did I do to this bitch? Why are they doing this to me? Why are they acting like this? So I wasn't worried about it. Okay, my everything will check out. I'm not doing anything I'm not supposed to be doing. Except for when one day I had a dentist appointment at 10 o'clock in the morning. Ashley's just joyriding around doing bath salts and sucking off whoever her whatever drugs she can in the car, you know, because I'm on house arrest, so I got the kids. It's summertime, and me and Delilah, my daughter, walked down to my dentist appointment. It was 9:45, and I scheduled out time out from 9 to 11. Okay, because it's just that's what I scheduled when I gave my house arrest people my schedule, right, for my appointments. So I didn't even leave the house until 9:45. My appointment took 5 minutes, and I called ahead of time and ordered pancakes for my daughter for breakfast. It's remember it's 10 o'clock in the morning, and the Slovak Club kitchen is open in the morning for breakfast. Okay, no bar. The bar doesn't open until fucking the afternoon. But the kitchen, it was a separate business, a separate entity from the bar as far as the financial. If you look at it on paper, it's not the same business. It's a separate business. But I called and ordered pancakes. It was literally on my way on our travels, walking to the dentist and to the pharmacy and back home. The Sliver Club was right there. So I went in, got the pancakes that I ordered ahead of time, and I put $1 in the bucket and signed my name for the drawing. They have a drawing every day. If you're a member of these social clubs, you can win a lot of money. So I needed money because I just got my bank account drained. I had to spend $3,000 now altogether on house arrest. I just lost the house I paid for half paid off already. Yeah, I was could use a few extra bucks, so I put my $1 in the can because I was right there. Why wouldn't you? So we went home, and then Pam Neff would call me a couple days later and just drill me and drill me and drill me and try to get me to incriminate myself. She tried to get me to admit that I went to the Slovak Club because she knew I went to the Slovak Club. It was clear that she knew. She wouldn't let it go. She's like, "Where else did you go that day? Where else did you go?" I said, "Nowhere. What do you mean?" "I know Patton. It doesn't take that long to walk from here to there to there." And I said, when you're on house arrest and it's really nice out, yeah, it's nice to take your time. And I just walked I got my daughter here is 8 years old at the time. I said, she's got little legs. So we don't walk as fast as you might think. We took our time. How about fuck you, bitch? It's none of your business. I was I left 45 minutes after I scheduled to leave. She bitched at me for that. Well, what? I stayed home too long, and then and I was home on time. So there shouldn't have been an issue at all, anyway. But they were targeting me, right? They were trying to find any little thing they could. So she says that I had to come back up to the office, another office visit, and I had to bring all my timestamps from these appointments, everything else, and it better check out. If one thing isn't right, if it doesn't check out, I'm going back to jail. You got to look at the context of the whole thing. Okay, for what? For simple driving under suspension that you already served all this time and paid all this money for, and because you chose to do something that most would say was the right thing to do, right? And you're getting punished like this for all of this shit, right? Didn't make any sense at all. Made no fucking sense at all. So this happened, right? And I go up to her office, and she has the male probation officers standing there too, which I didn't know at the time, but I later on found out they were there because they planned on arresting me. They didn't even they weren't even gonna wait and see anything. They already had a plan they were gonna fucking cuff me and stuff me. They just didn't know how they were gonna do it yet. So I went up there, and after my paperwork, she went through all my paperwork, everything checked out. I mean, I could go into detail, but it checked out. She was trying to find something like my prescriptions that I got. She said, "I called the pharmacy. You didn't go in the pharmacy." I said, "Yeah, I did." I said, "I didn't go in the pharmacy. I stood outside the pharmacy because I looked at my prescriptions and realized that I have this same exact prescription at home, and I'm not going to waste time going in here when it's nice out. So here's the prescriptions that are unfilled. Here they are. Boom." Laid them down in front of her. Like she was trying to get anything she could. You know, it was a fucking antibiotic and ibuprofen is what they were anyway. I had the same exact thing from the dentist. Um, you know, whenever you go to the dentist, you have abscesses. You end up building up like a supply of antibiotics and Motrin. So yeah, she wasn't happy because I wasn't telling on myself for stopping at the slow block to get pancakes. But I'm pretty sure my ex-wife told her. That's the only other person that knew. So, and my ex-wife conveniently slipped a slow block club beer chip into my change that day. I had my change in my pocket um, from the car. It was all the change from the car because we took somebody else with us that day, and I took all the change out of the car because it was like $20 in change because we were both worried about that this person would steal it, because he was a shady character, and I didn't invite him along. My ex-wife did, who at this point I just recently learned on my couple, 2 weeks where I got out of jail here. I was the last one to find out. This is how I found out. I'm standing down in working on the furnace in this house that I paid for half of already, and our mutual friends are there as well, and my ex-wife is standing there. And I said something, and my buddy said to me, "Well, you guys are splitting up. You guys are split up, right? You guys are done, aren't you?" And I'm like, "This is the first time I ever heard anything of this sort." I'm like, "Wait, what? That's news to me." And I looked over at her. I said, "I don't know, honey. Are we are we done or something? Is our marriage over? This is news to me. I'd never heard this before. Is that true?" She says, "We'll talk about it later." Can you imagine how humiliating and embarrassing that would be in front of your friends, in front of anybody? To know that for this is for months. They knew this. They all knew this for months. And they didn't say anything because they're fucking pieces of shit and they were hoping to get in my ex-wife's pants. That's why they didn't say anything. Because they were trying to get their noodle wet. They're fucking, thinking with their dick, not their head, not their heart. Letting their dick steer them and make their decisions for them. So anyway, that's how I found out that my marriage was over, right? So when we went up to probation, it was like a chore for her to have to drive me to probation in my car with my gas, right? It was like a chore for her to have to drive me up here just to leave me there, never return because why? Because she knew I was getting arrested. How did she, you know what I mean? Why else would she just not show back up? I asked her this and she couldn't answer it because I called her on it. I said, "You worked with Pam Neff to get me fucking thrown in jail, didn't you?" She's like, "I don't know what you're talking about." Well, I said, "Why didn't you come back up to the probation office that day?" I said, "You left, you were going to Walmart and you were coming back to pick me up." I said, and I bluffed. And I said, "Ashley, we didn't go to jail for like an hour and a half, 2 hours till after you dropped me off." I said, "You never came back to the probation office." I said, "It's not hard to figure out. Why didn't you come back? You knew I was going to jail, didn't you? How did you know that?" I said, "I'm not an idiot." And then she just shut down. She knew she was hit. She was caught. There's no explaining your way out of that. She was a narc working for fucking Cambria County probation and whoever else, and they were trying to cover for her, make me look like a piece of shit. Well, the I went. She dropped me off that day. Everything checked out, and Pam Neff says to me, "Well, where's your diagnosis paper from your doctor?" Because I had a doctor's appointment. She wants a diagnosis paper with like proof of what was wrong with me at this doctor's appointment. I never heard of such a thing because it doesn't exist really. A diagnosis paper from your doctor, the diagnosis paper, like it's an official form or something. I said, I don't, I don't know. I said I didn't get a diagnosis paper from my doctor. I said, "You're welcome to call him right now. I'm sure he'll provide you with anything you need." She says, "Nope, it's too late. You're going to jail." Just like that. Just like that. I'm not exaggerating. I'm not leaving parts out. This is the honest to God truth. This is what fucking happened back in 2013, right? I'm like blown away. I'm like, what? What the fuck? I'm going to jail. So I started yelling, "HIPAA violation, HIPAA violation." Right? I started yelling fire in a crowded theater pretty much to the all the jail administration, anybody that would hear it, you know? Because what she did was absolutely against the law. You can't just fucking just throw somebody in jail for no reason. Well, I mean, they can, and they do. If you agree to a probation program, you sign all your rights away pretty much. You give them you give them full power to do whatever they want to you. You agreed to it when you sign them papers. If you read the papers, the probation papers, they're so broad and so very broad and vague that they can literally throw you in jail for fucking scratching your butt crack, picking your nose or calling your wife fat or something. They can literally throw you in jail for anything they want, and then they can make up whatever they want later on. So she threw me in jail for not having a diagnosis paper from my doctor. Okay, so then that diagnosis paper did that was not the same reason she used whenever I went up in front of the judge and 3 days later when she had to present said violation and the reason why she threw me in jail and violated me. And guess what she says? Mr. Hofer was at an unauthorized stop during his scheduled time out, and I have proof. And I knew right then and then what it was. She knew I went to the slow walk because my ex-wife told her I went there. Right? It was already the plan. They were hoping that I would incriminate myself and tell them myself. That was, because otherwise, what the plan works. But guess what? I can speak the truth, and they can't they can't dispute it. The truth is, Pam Neff, you're an evil, corrupt, fucking uh, corrupt as fuck piece of shit, right? And you should not be a probation officer. You discriminate against guys. The absolutely horrible human being. Anybody who takes somebody and their father away from their kids for 2 months, and I don't. That's not a situation where I'm not taking accountability for my actions, right? I take accountability for my actions. That bitch went above and beyond to take me away from my kids for 2 months without a care in the world. And you can try to justify it all you fucking want, bitch. You lied to do it and you cheated and you fucking, at the end of the day, I said to the judge, I said, "Oh, Your Honor, I think this is just a misunderstanding." I said, I think what she's talking about is when I stopped to get pancakes for my daughter. It was like 10 o'clock in the morning. I said, I called and ordered them ahead of time. And I just, I went and, it was on my way. I said, I just stopped to pick the pancakes up for my daughter, 8-year-old daughter, because we missed breakfast because of my dentist appointment. And I went on to say, um, I'm just looking forward to moving past this. I feel like I've absolutely learned my lesson, repaid my debt to society, for driving under suspension, and I've paid my fines, and I've satisfied the court in every other condition that they set out for me to abide by. And I'm just excited to get this behind me and move on with my life. And Judge Krumanacher, then he looks at the paperwork, and he had to come up with something, right? Because after I just made that speech, how's he going to throw me in jail now, right? So he's looking at it, and he just says some weird mumbling shit about how long ago he put me on house arrest. It's 6 months house arrest. So he's like, you came in front of me in January on this, and now you're coming in front of me again. As in that must mean I did something wrong, right? You see what I'm saying? Here I am coming in front of him after 6 months house arrest, and it's now um, August. I think it was August at this point, right? So it didn't add up. So that confused him, I guess. Now, don't, I'm not an idiot. He's not confused. He knew exactly what the deal was. He looked at it. You can see right in front of him what happened. I started house arrest in March. He sentenced me in January. I didn't start till March. And then I got violated, did a week in jail, and got another month house arrest added on. That's it. One violation. And then this bitch violated me for getting pancakes for my daughter. Simple as that. But he sat there mumbling about me coming in front of the court, so many times on this one fucking charge. And I agreed. I said, yeah, it's ridiculous. And he says, boom, 2 months in jail, cracks his gavel, and that's it. 2 months in jail. That's it. No explanation. That was it. So for stopping to get pancakes for my daughter, okay, I got another 2 months in jail. Okay, tell me I'm not targeted. Come on, tell me that's normal. Tell me the court was being reasonable. Go ahead, I dare you. Try to say that without looking like a fucking exposing yourself and looking like a corrupt piece of shit yourself. Nobody can sit here and say that's right with a straight face and believe it. What they did to me was evil, selfish, corrupt, tyrannical, and karma's a bitch. That's all I have to say. And looking back, I mean, it was a blessing in disguise because that 2 months that I went to jail after that, my ex-wife, she really dropped her guard and kept fucking up even more and more and more and more and more and more. Right? Well, now it's my ex-wife now because we're not together anymore. Remember? She made sure that I lost my house. She made sure that I was made to look humiliated in front of anybody, because everybody else knew that we were splitting up months before I did. You know, she made it clear whenever she fucking narked me out and then dropped me off and took off, never even come back for me. After 10 years of being married, for somebody to be able to do that to somebody, you got to be a cold-hearted bitch, man. You got to be a really, really cold-hearted, evil fucking bitch to be able to do that to somebody who never did anything except try to make you happy. To turn around and do that to somebody like that, there's a special place in hell reserved for people like that. I don't wish anything bad for her. I feel bad for her because I know it, she knows it, that, and maybe that's why she hasn't been able to move past that block in her mind. Either she's playing dumb, or she really actually believes that she was abused or something, that she was oppressed, right? You know how powerful that word narcissist is, right? If somebody got in her ear and just rammed home the idea over and over again that I'm a narcissist and she's a victim. You know what I mean? You see how people are easy to hack and program if you know what buttons to push, right? So she's not that smart, so I don't think that she was just, that she's just like playing it off. I really do think that, how a pathological liar will lie so much that they believe their own lies, right? That's what I believe is the case with her. Because anytime, like, you can't even name one thing that I did, to her. She can't do it either. But she'll sit there and say to my daughter, she'll rant and run my name into the dirt in front of my kids, which you don't do that. Parenting classes teach you that. That's what the parenting classes are for. I was I had to go through the custody deal, through the courts, through Blair County courts years ago when my daughter was a baby, 2 years old. And then again, I had to do it again with both my kids, um, you know, later on in the beginning of 2014. So, two different times, um, you know, terrible, terrible targeted Patton, right, was awarded custody of his kids, full primary custody of both his kids, two different times. Well, the first time Ben wasn't born yet, it was just Delilah. And that is being said, that against all odds. Ashley's dad, okay, her dad is a retired Air Force and had been a prison guard, state prison guard, for 20, 25 years at that point, right? And the first time that she did this bullshit, she tried to take my daughter and keep her and say, Oh, you're not getting her. I'm keeping her. Right? She tried to do this. It made no sense. And she had all these fines, right? And you don't do that. You create a monster when you do that. You try to tell a father that he can't see his kids. Don't give him a reason why. Out of nowhere, after everything I put up with, whenever like I forgave her for all that, but I put up with quite a bit when my daughter was like 2 years old and went through this bullshit. She would use the kids as leverage every chance that she could. My daughter, anyway. In like a meal ticket, she would use them as leverage. That's it. That's all that my daughter was to her, was leverage and to show off to people. Like, look what I got. Look what I can do. It's like the mentality of a fucking elementary child, which there could be some legitimacy to that because she was born in Holland, or actually, I don't know if she was born in Arizona. I think she was born in Holland. Her mom from is Dutch. Okay, they're from uh, they're from Holland, the Netherlands. They're from So when they moved over here, my ex-wife was 9 years old and just got thrown into school and couldn't speak a lick of English. So she actually, for a 9-year-old kid to get just thrown into school without even understanding the language, I can imagine that psychologically their psychological development would just start over. It would definitely get stalled, and they would be behind the curve, right? So by the time that she was like a teenager, and she dropped out of school, of course, dropped out of school at like 15, 14, 15, something like that. And her mom would, they'd party with them, you know, because the dad was the righteous law and order guy, the Timmy Tough Nuts prison guard, right? And it was an ugly breakup, when my ex-wife and her sister were like early teens. Okay, so that's bad whenever you know parents divorce and the kids are teenagers, right? So especially whenever one of them just tries to be their friend, gives them alcohol, lets them smoke weed. That's it was the party house, I guess. I didn't meet my ex-wife till she was 18, but I was told, you you the details were filled in for me years later as we were married. So that's what I would have assumed that she would have recognized that because she doesn't really respect her mother now because of that. Because her mother wasn't a mother, she was just trying to be her best friend. And because of that, I expected my ex-wife to not do that to our daughter, to not act like that to our daughter. If if you would have told me that she was going to do the same thing that her mother did, I'd have said, "No, you're crazy. She ain't gonna do that." I'd have said, "Why would she do that? She sees whatever it did to her, the way her mother raised them. She hates her dad, and she's kind of kills any chance of success in life whenever you start drinking and smoking weed and shit at 13 years old and partying and drop out of school. You know what I mean? That's on the mother. I hate to say it because the dad just walked out. It was an ugly breakup, and so they were already on the mother's side to the point where they just despised him. So he said that was it. He just walked away until 10 years later, or whatever, 8 years later, whenever me and my ex-wife get together, and she, Delilah's in the oven. We got a bun in the oven, and she would always tell me talk shit on her dad, and I convinced her to reach out to him and try to reconnect and let him know he's going to be a grandfather. I said, you'd be surprised. I said, something like that can totally, mend a relationship, a whole lifetime of problems. Something like that can bring you together and give you, mutual interest, And we met up at a Chinese restaurant, and it was real, you know, uh, high stress and anxiety for her to have to confront, her dad after years of not talking at all, the hate that she had for him, the disdain, and then to sit there and say, "Hey, you're going to be a grandfather." Um, so it was scary for her. I get it, and that's where we had backup. We had we had spies. We had my mom and my brother and our friends, and we had like three different tables of people around us that they didn't know that they were our friends and family. So that way she would be more comfortable, not in a public place and just, you know what I mean, thrown into a panic attack type deal. So that's what we did. And whenever we sat down before anybody got any food, we told him he was going to be a grandfather. And I did, listen, I was naive, I guess, but I don't have any respect for the man. He's a piece of shit too. He said, I don't know how you expect me to be happy for you for that. You expect me to be happy right now? And he like totally just pissed in her Cheerios, stomped on her dreams, totally ruined the moment. And then they got up and walked out and left. And they didn't even eat anything. I left my ex-wife bawling at the table there. Pregnant, 18 years old, you know, and bawling her eyes. That's what her dad did to her. So it's fucked up. It's real fucked up. And he's a piece of shit for it. But his wife, his new wife, Amy, is a good-hearted human being, and she smacked some sense into him after that happened. She was there. She saw it. And she told him how it was. She said, that was ridiculous. You're a fucking prick. And he brought him to his senses, and we ended up trying again, and he apologized, and we ended up actually connecting, and then Delilah got to have her grandparents on that side in her life for the first 2 years of her life. They were actually part of her life. It was good, it was good, right? And whenever Ashley we cheated on me when Delilah was a baby, and I said that's it. I had a zero tolerance policy for that shit. Right? You violate my trust like just like that, and then you just throw it out the door that easy. That's how much you value our marriage. You're just willing to fucking just bang the bassist to the band, to the favorite band that we used to always go see together. Yeah, she banged the bassist, and and then you got mad at me, right? Because she didn't have an excuse or anything. She just did it, didn't care, and then was mad at me because of it. I said, well, I hope you had fun. I hope it was worth it. I said, because this is done. That's it. Marriage gone. See you later. That's it. How do you expect me to fucking forgive you for that? Like the way she was acting, like I did something wrong. That's how she acted. She was a spoiled brat. that's how she, that's how she was brought up. That's how she was basically conditioned to act when she didn't get her way. Act like a snobby little bitch, and then she didn't have to deal with problems. And she would get her way, right? She had that snobby fucking look. That snobby look where you just hate somebody because they just aren't giving you what you want. And like a You can picture the face whenever I give the sound like the right? I'm sure you can imagine what her face looks like. So that's turned into a long story, but that's basically I kind of went backwards, but that's what happened. Me and my ex-wife, I was in the military getting ready to get deployed to Iraq, 18 years old, right? We met 3 months later. She was knocked up, and then I'm going to Iraq. Just graduated high school, and I'm going to be gone for 2 years of her life, my daughter's life. And it's like that's a lot, right, to put on somebody. And when we met right after I graduated high school, she was just moving into her apartment, her first apartment, and she had a roommate that was sharing the rent. It was her and this other creep of a guy. I think he was hoping to make like a relationship thing out of it, so because they signed the lease together, and then me and her hooked up. So when it came time to move in, she never did even pay even the first month's rent. She never paid anything because we were already together, and I just paid rent for her. So from the moment we got together, I paid her all her rent. I paid her cell phone bill and everything. She never had to, you know. And I get it. I created the monster by spoiling her, by taking care of everything, you know. Even after we split up, I provided her with a cell phone. I would come every week on payday. I would go and get my cigarettes for the week, and I would buy hers too. And I would, you know, because I wouldn't. I can imagine, I wouldn't want her to be without just because she was used to being taken care of. I can't just pull the rug out from somebody like that. So I kept providing her with a cell phone and cigarettes, and it wasn't me trying to. Like, I definitely wasn't trying to get back with her or anything. Not at all. Just doing the right thing. So that would come back to bite me in the ass because I wasn't doing her any real favors. I was just enabling her. That's it. So we split up, and then she one day has all these fines, and she just takes my daughter. I would drop my daughter off at 7 o'clock in the morning and go to work, and I get off work at 5 o'clock at night, and I pick my daughter up, and everything was fine. Everything was fine. And I'd even have to wake her up where she'd have strange guy sleeping with a strange guy in bed with a keg in the middle of the kitchen in the morning when my daughter's fucking a toddler, you know what I mean? And that's what I'd have to fucking wake her up so I could go to work. That's what I'd have to put up with, that shit. It's fucking. Can you imagine? So it wasn't very hard for me to just get over it real quick. You know, best way to get over somebody is to get underneath somebody else, right? So we split up, and she took my daughter one day and said she's keeping her. So I said, yeah, fuck that, we'll see. I went and I got a hold of the constables, the cops, everybody, because she had a bench warrant for unpaid fines, and I knew this. So I'm like, why do you think you're going to do this? And you better have your bases covered if you're going to try to pull that shit. You're going to use my daughter's leverage. You better be prepared, because I would never do that. I would never keep my daughter from their mother ever, because that's only hurting my kids. Why would I hurt my kids? That's fucked up. So she, the constable I had helped me out, right? They worked with me. They went over. I hid around the corner, and this constable went, knocked on the door, and if she had the fines, she was going to have to get transported to the magistrate and serve the bench warrant. In which point, I could say, okay, my daughter's coming with me now, you know, and there's nothing she'd be able to do about that until we could, let the courts figure it out, right? But that's what her dad got in her ear. Her dad told her what to do. Her dad told her, "Oh, you need to take your daughter and keep your daughter from him, right? And you need to do this and that, and all this shit to get custody, and then you'll get a meal ticket. You'll be taken care of. You'll get Section 8. You'll get child support. You'll get free, all this shit." So that's what her plan was. So the constable comes back around the corner. She's like, "Well, she wasn't there, but your daughter is." So I was like, "Oh, score." She saw my daughter, but that my ex-wife was not there. So I was like, "Wonder why?" Right? So I went over to get my daughter, and the woman that she was living with is the color doesn't matter. She's a black chick, but it doesn't matter what color she is. The chick didn't like me because we used to work together, and she used to try to grab my dick, and she used to hit on me all the time. And I told her, I wrote a letter to her at work. We worked together. And I wrote a letter to her one day saying, "I'm sorry, I'm just not attracted to black girls." Like, guess I didn't realize, like, I was not trying to offend her at all. I was just being honest. Like, "I'm sorry, you're not attractive to me. I'm not attracted to you. Quit trying to grab my dick and quit trying to, like, openly in front of everybody." Like, so I kind of humiliated her, right? So she held a grudge against me. And this is where my ex-wife's living now, right? And I go to try to get my daughter, and she's like 8 months pregnant. This Erica Pierce is her name. I talked to her, present day, I'll talk to her and shit. Shit's in the past, you know what I mean? But Erica, she's not shy at all. She's very, she's not afraid to tell you what's on her mind. She's not afraid to go hands on at 8 months pregnant and fucking chase a little white fucking scrawny white boy off her porch, right? And that's exactly what she did. And I called the cops because you're not gonna keep my daughter from me. She's not your daughter. And my ex-wife wasn't there, and she had warrants out for her arrest. So I'm thinking, okay, I'm in the right. This will get sorted out. Well, the cop comes, and it's a female cop. Great, right? It's a female blonde cop. I told her what the issue was, and she tried to sit there and gaslight me and give me every excuse not to do anything, which they're not supposed to do anything. And there's no custody order, but it was real simple. I said, my ex-wife isn't here. I want my daughter. I don't know where she's at. She lives with these strangers, these people, and I don't want my daughter with these people. I want my daughter, and they're kidnapping my daughter. You need to make sure to advise them to give my daughter to me. And she went and she said, well, this is where she resides. So I can't remove the child from her residence. I said, she doesn't fucking reside here. I said, this is where her mother sleeps on the couch because she didn't have a place to live. I said, my daughter resides with me in in my mother-in-law's house at the time. Yeah, I actually lived with her mother. They were on my side. They totally condemned and they did not condone what my ex-wife was doing at the time at all. You know, they didn't kick her out, but they weren't kicking me out, because we were a new couple that was, new baby and stuff, and they were helping us and stuff at the time. Especially since I just got out of basic training right before she was born. We got married on December 9th, 2004, and I got kicked out of the military 2 days later, December 11th. But I'd had almost 2 years, and I had 23 months and some odd days. Um, but I ended up, it was a blessing in disguise. Like I said, I got a general discharge under honorable conditions. It's just like I wasn't even in the military. Just gave my gear back, and that was it. Shook hands and went our separate ways. Everything happens for a reason, right? But I got a good education out of it as a combat engineer, blowing shit up, and I was awarded the marksmanship award. I was the best shot in the company. I scored a 96 on my ASVAB. It just wasn't a right fit at the time for me, and I smoked a joint because they changed our dates. It was National Guard, so I go up one weekend a month, right? So after that weekend, I always got away with smoking a joint or whatever after because I knew it would be another 3 weeks, 4 weeks before we would have to get piss tested again. But the way it worked out was we went to drill, I went home, and then a couple of days later, 2 days later, I got a surprise phone call saying our deployment got moved up 6 months and that I needed to stop what I was doing and go to Fort Indiantown Gap for Soldier Readiness Program, which is all the stuff to get ready to get deployed in a month, in 1 month, just like that. And instead of June the next year, we're going in January, right? So that fast, all that shit happened. So, right, we went got, I took the piss test and everything. That was in November. And then in the next 2 to 3 weeks, we figured it all out. And it would be stupid not to get married at that point. I'm like, well, we better get married. It was the difference of like $3,000 a month that she would be missing out because if we weren't married, the basic housing allowance, the separation pay, all that while I was deployed. So we went and got married real quick, you know, and 2 days later I had drill for December, my weekend of drill in December, and I go down. I didn't know I was going to fail or anything. I actually was confident about the test. I thought I was going to pass, and they called 8 of us out in the morning at first formation. They called eight of our names out and said to report to the captain's office, the CO's office, directly after first formation. And after we were dismissed or whatever, the formation after first formation cleared, everybody went their separate ways, and there's the 8 of us standing there looking at each other to see who else who else was it that they called their names trying to figure out what they wanted, why we were getting, why we had to go to the CO's office. And as soon as everybody left and we took one look at it, at who it was, the different people in the company, it was very obvious what we were in for. Because it was all the people that you would look at and maybe like expect to actually smoke weed or something. You know, it's like, oh yeah, yep, that's what it is. You're a fucking pothead, right? So that was it. 8 of us got kicked out at the same time. All of us, 8 of us. So it wasn't like that was a big hit for the 876th Engineer Battalion in Johnstown there. To lose 8 people right before deployment, But I get it. They didn't, they don't want to go over there with people that they can't trust. Is is going to fold or is going to fucking smoke a joint or something and compromise the mission, right? And he asked me, he's like, well, why'd you do it? Why'd you do it? Like I did it on purpose or something. And I said, I said, what do you mean? I said, I didn't like smoke a joint and think, fuck the military. I didn't do it on purpose, like in order to get kicked out, if that's what you're insinuating. I said, but my daughter was just born October 21st. I said, I just get this news that we're getting deployed in a month, and I'm going to miss the first 2 years of my daughter's life. To be honest with you, I didn't really care. And I told him that. I said, I didn't care. I didn't do it to get kicked out. I said, but if that would have been the result, I definitely didn't care because that meant I would get to stay home with my daughter and everything else. I was honest with him, and we parted ways, shook hands, parted ways, whatever. I'm sure it's not a mutual respect, but whatever. It just wasn't a right fit. So there it is, December 11th, 2004, and I'm not getting deployed anymore. So then it was about a year later that something like that. About a year later, whenever she cheated on me and all this shit went down. So when she kept my daughter from me, the constable tried to help me. I couldn't get my daughter back. Before I left, the cop wouldn't do anything. I said, well, my ex-wife has a warrant for her arrest. So even if she's here right now, I still am taking my daughter with me. And you know what she did? The cop, she runs my name first. She's like, well, what's your name? And she runs my fucking name first to see if I have any warrants before she runs my ex-wife's. So you can't look at all these little details and try to say that it's just in my head, that I'm not fucking targeted, like that there isn't some predetermined conversations and stuff that took place or planned by a group of people, you know, in collusion. They're colluding, right? Who are they colluding with? I don't fucking know. Maybe Russia, maybe China, maybe, right? Who knows? But they're definitely colluding. That much is for sure. So I get, yeah, that's right. Okay, I didn't remember where I was at in the story. So she runs my name. I come back clear. Then she runs my ex-wife's name, right? And she says, nope, she don't have any warrants either. And I just got done talking to the constable who showed up there with a warrant. So I'm like, that can't be right. I said, I just got confirmation this morning. The constable was trying to pick her up. She has warrants. Are you sure? I said, you sure you don't want to run it again? And she says, yeah, no, I'm not showing any warrants. And then shit you not, right then, a Ford Exploder pulls in, which is Ashley's dad, right? Timmy Toughnuts, right? Jackass Joe Seidel, the prison guard, right? Hard guy. He pulls in, and I knew right away what happened. He went and she went and called him. That's how they actually ended up rekindling their relationship. It was built on hating me. He was going to actually be a dad to her and help her to get her kids, help her against me. So I'm sure he had a skewed perception of me, or else he wouldn't have done that. He wanted to make up for all the years that he wasn't there for his daughters, right? And here was his chance. So he's a tyrant. He works in the prison. This is his group of people. I believe that he knows exactly what to do, right? Let's target him. We have different things we can do, you know. So he went and paid her fines off. He took her, picked her up that morning, went and paid her fucking fines off for her, right? So that's why I'm convinced that he's the one that told her to take Delilah, keep her, right? I'll pay your fines off for you, and then you go and you file a PFA against him, right? So this is I didn't even find this out till later on. So um, everybody leaves, and it's just me and my ex-wife there and my daughter, and she says to me, after all this, she's still going to keep my daughter from me. She says to me, "Well, listen, I just don't want you fighting me on you know, on getting, help, getting assistance, she said, uh, she said, she can come home with you if you sign these papers for me. I said, done. I didn't even know what they were. I said, done. Whatever they are, give me them. I'm signing them. And she comes out with two handwritten papers. One is addressed to Section 8, and one is to domestic relations. Okay? And they both read like this. They say, to whom it may concern, um, Delilah Maria Hofer resides with resides with their mother, Ashley Teresa Hofer, and she has full primary physical custody of the child. You know what I mean? Just handwritten papers that just said, that she has hand or full primary physical custody. So I signed, and I signed under duress right then and there. It's like, yeah, this ain't gonna fucking hold up. They're fucking notebook paper. You just scribbled on a notebook paper. It's not gonna hold up. Sorry, but they're gonna laugh at you. So I signed them, and she gave my daughter to me. And then I went home to her mother's house, right, and had supper like I did every day after work, a long day of work. 9 o'clock that night, the sheriffs are knocking on the door. So I answer the door to the sheriffs, who then served me with a PFA. I'm like, what? What the fuck is this? And it read in the PFA, the report, she lied through her teeth. It said that I was driving around her neighborhood at 3 in the morning, um, repeatedly. And it just wasn't true at all. There was nothing true about it. The last interaction we had was whenever, um, the night before. The night before is when she said she was keeping her daughter, my daughter, and I wasn't going to get her, right? And I went to the cops that night and the constable, and I drove around the block once or twice at like 7 p.m., right? And I stopped each time. I stopped to try to get my daughter, and which they had to know what they were getting into when they started this, because every day before that I picked my daughter up and dropped her off. Then one day she's just going to say, "Nope, you're done," just like that, right? It was whenever I dropped her off in the morning, and when I came to pick her up after work that day, she said, "Yeah, she's not coming with you. She's not coming with you." So guess what happened? She talked to her dad. Her dad probably made plans to take her out in the morning and pay her fines off, and they were going to take care of everything. But she didn't. She didn't account for. She didn't figure into the equation that I'm a determined, resourceful, very very stubborn motherfucker, and you're not going to take my kid away from me and just expect there not to be a fight. You know what I mean? I mean, I would think every parent's like that, but that's a total different side of me. When you fuck with my kids, that's a totally different targeted pattern, right? My kids aren't involved. I'm the easiest guy in the world to get along with. I can tolerate a lot. I just let shit go. I don't sweat the small stuff. I don't hold grudges. I fucking, life's too short for that bullshit. But when you try to do anything that involves my kids, well then Papa Bear comes out. That's when the teeth come out. I turn into a raging fucking monster. You created this monster when you told me that I wasn't getting my daughter. So I'm sorry, I can't control the monster. Can't control them. You won't like me when I'm angry, type deal, you know. And at this point, nobody's ever seen that side of me, ever. Nobody gets to see that side of me unless you come against, you try to target my kids. If you try to do something with my kids, you better be scared. You better be looking over your shoulder. You better be prepared. If you're going to come after me and my kids, you better be prepared. That's all I'm saying. Because then there's no rules. Everything's off the table then. It doesn't matter. My life is not my own. I don't care. I'll do whatever it takes to protect my kids, right? And do what's best for them and what's in their best interest. You can take that to the bank. So she didn't account for that. The next day, I got this PFA. It says I'm not even allowed to contact her. I can't even answer her phone calls. So here, she was going to keep my daughter from me, right? And do all this. Well, the way everything worked out, it just worked out that way, right? The sheriff told me, he's like, well, I'm going to tell you, this right here means that you have to keep your daughter now. He said you can't even make arrangements with her to swap your daughter, or else she can get you, or she can have you arrested. I can't even, um, I couldn't even be the mediator or whatever. I couldn't even be the person that organized a phone call so that so my daughter could talk to her mother on the phone or anything. No, that she could get me violated for that. She could, you know, he he knew what he was talking about. This sheriff, so he strongly advised, told me what he would do and what I should do. He said if I were you, I would. He said just as hard as it might be, you have to just wait until that hearing. Do not answer the phone. Don't even talk in the background when she's on the phone with her mom. Don't even do that. She can get you violated. So there I am. I had to keep my daughter from her for a week, right? And it wasn't. I couldn't do anything. It wasn't in my daughter's best interest for me to get thrown in jail for violating a PFA, right? To make my ex-wife happy, who's a piece of shit. So it was tough. I had to keep my daughter from my ex-wife for a week. And at the PFA hearing, I had a lawyer, and I had already paid him a retainer and to file for custody. We were already in the works, right? Because that was the next day, you know. After I signed the papers and I got the PFA, the very next day was the lawyer. I took off work and everything to do it. Like I said, I'm not going to wait around. You come after me or my kids. It's now, right now. It's go time. Don't you just better be prepared. Don't think that you'll have to deal with me in the future. No, we're dealing with it right now. If you come after my kids or do anything, it's on like Donkey Kong, motherfucker. So that's what happened. And at the hearing, I had my lawyer with me, and I'm with all these other guys that are bumming because they're the defendant in a PFA case, protection from abuse order. So it was PFA day, and they keep going opposite sides of the courthouse. So she's got her dad over there, right? Well, you couldn't even see them. My lawyer was going back and forth negotiating with them, and all these other guys are just bumming. Like this is the worst day of their lives, right? And here I am getting like everything is working out for me perfect because she wants to see her daughter. She's never gone that long without her daughter. She just wants to see her daughter, right? And she's willing to drop the PFA today, drop the PFA completely, and she's willing to sign a temporary custody agreement as long as that meant she could see her daughter today. So what it was karma, like it was instant karma. Like you're gonna try to do this this bullshit to a good person who doesn't deserve it. Well, then the universe is gonna punish you for it. They're gonna make sure you learn a lesson. Simple as that. That you can't have negative intent and have nefarious intent against a good person, somebody you know who's not trying to hurt anybody, who's just trying to just trying to do good. You can't come against the chosen one, right? I'm not going to call myself a chosen one, but that's what they say, right? You come against one of God's chosen ones, then you will pay the price. And I don't care, Ed, if you think I sound like a crackhead or not. I don't care. Hey, Ed, guess what? I don't care. Hey, did I mention Ed? I don't care. What do you think? And as far as what everybody else thinks, yeah, don't care. Don't care. Sorry. Don't care. So you can think I'm a crackhead all you want. I don't fucking care. But that happened with my daughter. She instant karma. So I left my PFA hearing, right, protection from abuse hearing, with the PFA dropped, and we got a temporary custody agreement that day, filled out, and boom, signed off by the judge. One day, the quickest you could possibly get a custody order. There's no other quicker way that you could possibly get an order signed by a judge granting custody any quicker than that. Like my lawyer was like, "This is like you can't ask for anything better than this. You're getting a temporary custody agreement right today. Everything dropped, and then it'll be mediation is the next step. The next step we go in, we sit down at a table with a mediator, and we just hash out the details, and they finalize the custody order. She could contest it at that point. That's her chance to contest it and say no, I don't agree with that. But by this point, everything was the way it was on paper in the court order for a month and a half. By the time we did a mediation, it was like a month and a half, 2 months, something like that. She was basically my babysitter, and it was on paper. You know what I mean? It was on court paper. She was my babysitter. Pretty much, that's it. I refused domestic relations. I refused to take her for child support. They didn't like me for that, but I wouldn't do it. The Blair County, like they were, it's crazy. It's like they're drug dealers and they're trying to push their drug on you. They were trying to make me feel like a horrible person for not taking her for child support. You know what I mean? Even though she was just about to do it to me, I said no, no. I said I don't no, I don't agree with it because um, it's not going to help. That the court doesn't need to be involved with that. We can take care of our kid. We don't need the court to be the executor over the money. And you know what I mean? Fuck that. I said no. I said I have a choice. Then the choice is no. So do you think my ex-wife recognized that? No, she didn't recognize that. She didn't give two shits about that. Hell, that was just one simple decision that I made. Right? Was the difference between 10 years of child support, pretty much. Well, not 10, maybe 5 or 6 years, whatever it is. If I would have said yes, she would have had to pay child support back then, way back then, fucking in 2004, 2005. That's almost 20 years of child support. But as it stands, whenever she cheated on me again here and, and, got me thrown in jail and backstabbed me and all this shit in 2013, that's when she she had her apartment, right? And I was getting along with her. We lived in the same town. So I literally gave her the car, right? I paid for her cell phone. I would buy her cigarettes, right? And I just bit my tongue. And I would walk back and forth across town to drop my kids off, going out of my way to allow them to stay there overnight, literally half the time. So I would get them 4 days this week, and 3 days. She would get them three, and then we'd swap. It was literally 50-50. And I was willing to be completely fair down the middle. You know, I don't want any more. I'm not greedy. I don't want to use my kids as a leverage. I just want everybody to get along, and I want for nobody to use the kids for leverage. So that's why the courts helped me. The court, the court order ensured that we didn't have any problems. Everything was easy peasy after that. Once we had that court order, then she couldn't hold the kids over my head. I certainly didn't do it to her. And then we got along just fine. Everything worked out just fine. But before that happened, whenever we had gotten back together, and had been, and we were together for 6 or 7 years after that. We got back, we split up for about a year, and then we found our way back to each other, and then we had Ben 4 years after Delilah, right? So when Ben was like 5, okay, that's when this all. Well, he was 4, he just turned 5. Whenever this all went down, right? My daughter was 8, right? She just turned 9, I guess, 4 years apart, whatever. That's when she stabbed me in the back again. And so immediately, I mean, immediately when she pulled this shit again, I had to go right to my lawyer. So 3 months she had her apartment. 3 months, okay? First month's rent, security deposit, and then it was only $475 a month, right? Um, so it was month 3, and I went over to get my kids on a Sunday night. They were there and they had school the next day. So I walked over to get my kids, and I opened the door, and there's a couple local people from town standing in the kitchen cooking pierogies, a couple guys, right? And I get along with them. I'm like, what's up? And they're just cooking pierogies in my ex-wife's apartment, my baby mama's apartment. But she's nowhere to be found. My kids are nowhere to be found. And they said to me, oh, yeah, we're not supposed to tell you. She told us, yeah, not to tell you, but she took the kids and she moved down to her mom's and she's keeping them. She said, "You're not getting them." I was like, "Oh, this whole game again. Okay, I know this game. I'm good at this game." You know what I mean? You'd think somebody would learn the lesson from the first time. So I immediately jump in a car and drive down to Altoona, call the cops. Well, I drove down to Altoona first. I said, "What are you doing? The kids have school tomorrow." You know, you can't just take them down to another school district and just say I'm keeping them. You can't do that, Ashley. Sorry, you don't get to fucking do that to the kids. So I went down, called the cops, and of course my father-in-law. I gotta respect him. He stood up and he had her back, and he said they're not leaving. He's Matt. He's a protector, right? He was protecting Ashley and the kids. So he told me, go pound sand, get fucked. You're not leaving here with the kids. He said. I said, all right, Matt. I said, I just, I don't, it sucks that you guys got to get involved. Um, but this is only going to go one way. I said, I promise you, you're on the wrong side of this. Go talk some sense into her or something. I said, because this isn't the way to go about it. Not at all. I don't know what she told you or what the deal is, but I don't know anything except that she just brought him down here. I said, I think she don't know what to do. I would never keep the kids from her. It was her only chance, right, at using them for a meal ticket. Here she was getting evicted from her apartment. That's what the deal was. She was getting evicted from her apartment because she never paid a fucking penny for rent. So by the month 3, she didn't tell anybody this. She wasn't going to have a place to live with the kids, right? So she wasn't going to stay in Patton where she'd be embarrassed and humiliated, right? Right? And then she would look like a liar because God only knows what she was telling everybody about me. So she had to skedaddle, right? She scooted right out of town. And I didn't do Facebook, and I didn't go around putting my business online. So nobody knew what was really going on back then. They just knew Ashley took off, right? And I don't know. I'm still in the dark. I don't fucking know what people were told. But it does seem like people were told something, right? They were definitely told something. Hell, she stayed in a battered women's shelter for a period of time where I wasn't even allowed to go pick the kids up there. She was not a battered woman, not at all. We were split up for at this point for years already. She was pregnant with her daughter she has now. So she's like years have gone by. She has another kid, and she's in a battered women's shelter. The dad is not anywhere in the picture, so it wasn't him. So I don't know what she said to get into that battered women's shelter, but something tells me that she threw me under the bus and lied through her teeth and claimed that you know what I mean? Because that makes sense. It would put me on some kind of fucking list, right? And would get somebody to try to claim that I'm a woman beater, right? Well, that's funny because my ex-wife stayed in a battered women's shelter for 2 months, and then she went out of her way. she wasn't getting the kids every other weekend consistently before this. But then once she got in that battered women's shelter, she made sure she she got the kids every other weekend. She drug them kids down into that battered women's shelter. Like why would you do that, Ashley? You can see the kids anytime. Why would you drag them through this battered women's shelter thing, make them stay in a house with a bunch of fucking strangers where any irate, angry husband or spouse could come fucking flip out and shoot up the place or whatever. Who knows, you know? You're you got a whole bunch of fucking pissed off dudes looking for their women that they batter all in one place. And you think it's the best idea to take the kids down here and stay in this big house? And then so I wasn't even allowed to pick them up there, you know, because we swapped. She would drop them off, and then I would drop them off back, or vice versa. You know, we split the travel. But no, I didn't even know it was a battered women's shelter until after the fact. You know, until I was like, well, I'll come drop the kids off, you know, or I'll come pick them up. And she was like, no, you can't. No, you can't. I was like, what do you mean it can't? Like, what are you talking about? Where's it at? You know, and that's, you know, then the truth came out. And I was like, oh, okay, so it's a battered women's shelter. So I'm not allowed. There's no guys allowed there, I guess. No guys allowed. It's a battered women's shelter, right? I guess that's what I was told. I wouldn't be surprised if I was the fucking culprit, right? If I was the one battering the women that she claimed. Because I don't think you get into one of those battered women's shelters without there being some official documentation, something filled out, some official report saying that you were a victim of domestic abuse, right? How else? Why would they call it a battered women's shelter? They just let any women in, right? And I think she needed the kids. She needed the kids to be able to get in there. That's what I think. Because it was like she was insisting. Any other time she would change her plans and just say, fuck the kids, she wanted to party. One thing I could always count on Ashley for. Every time, no matter what, without fail, she would always change the plans last minute. So you could always count on her to not count on her. You know what I mean? You could rely on Ashley to be consistent with being unreliable. 100% every time. She would make plans and I would make the plans with my kids and be like, well, we'll go here and we'll go there because your mom said that we'll meet at this time. And I'd say, oh no, she's gonna change it. She does it every time. I said, so let's just predict how she's gonna change it. She's probably gonna say, oh, she can't make it down, or it's gonna be another few hours. So let's just make our plans for later on. Let's just assume she's gonna do that already, and she would every time, every fucking time, no matter what, without fail. So it's just, I guess I've never made a video talking about my ex-wife and how big of a role she played in this whole thing because I don't want to believe it, you know. I don't want to believe that she's even more cold-hearted than I already knew. Even more willing to stab me in the back, throw me under the bus to make herself look better, right? And for nobody else's benefit but her own. No care in the world how many lives she ruins or who she fucks over just to appear as a better person or something. After we split up and I got out of jail, being in jail for 2 months, after that happened, I get a phone call one day and it's her. She's at the pharmacy and they caught her shoplifting at the pharmacy. And the cops came and the cops were coming. So she's begging me, could you please come down here? I was like, why? What the fuck do you want me to come? Why would I come down there? I had nothing to do with you fucking shoplifting. Why would I come down there? I can't do anything. I can't help you. I don't want to be associated with you. Why would I come down there? And she's begging me to come down, right? Finally, I'm like, all right, I'll be down. And I hung up and I said, fuck that. I wasn't going down. So I left her hanging, you know, fuck you, idiot. Why would I come down here and and say, hey, everybody, look, I'm associated with this person here who just fucked me over and stabbed me in the back. Yeah, and by the way, she just got caught shoplifting a fucking light bulb for a fucking wax warmer for a candle warmer thing. Yes, she tried to steal the light bulb, and she had money. Yeah, that's the bad part. She had the money to pay for it. She tried to steal that, and she had either meth or bath salts. She got caught with drugs and drug paraphernalia. So she got in trouble. She got charges for that and got put on probation for that. Well, then she moved to Altoona. Then she tried to steal the kids first, but that didn't work out. I got the kids within a week. She called me and said, "Okay, you can take the kids back." By this point, I had already filed for custody, filed a petition for special relief, right? Which means there's extreme circumstances. Hurry this thing through, because there's extreme circumstances with the kids that she's using the kids for leverage. She's keeping them out of school. All these bad things. We need to address it right away. So I filed that extra paperwork, an extra $100 or something, along with the custody order. It was 2 grand. Here you go. Boom. I had all that filed, and then that weekend, she was she was going to say that I couldn't take my kids even for the weekend, right? So I cooked up a plan to just play dumb, play along with her, and we were going to go to the Slinky Action Zone. She was going to set up a day where I could hang out with my kids in a public place, but I couldn't take them home. So I'm like, okay, that'll work. Meanwhile, we made all these plans. My mom, was the driver because my license is suspended. So we made plans to go down to hang out with the kids Saturday at Slinky Action Zone when we already filed for custody and everything. So we'd be having this hearing coming up in like 2 weeks. And we scheduled, without telling anybody, we scheduled an 8-day cruise out of Baltimore to the Bahamas with the kids. And it left that Saturday, right? Or Sunday or whatever, the next day. But we were leaving that Saturday. So we had it all planned out to surprise the kids and everything. And then just we're just going to go on a cruise, and then we'll call their mother whenever we're pulling out and say, oh hey, by the way, we're going to be on a cruise for 8 days, so have fun, get fucked. And it was like Thursday. She called me and said, if you want to come get them, Friday, tomorrow you can. You can keep them for the weekend. She says. So that quick, she already wanted to party. So she already needed a babysitter, you know. So she already called me to come and babysit my own kids for the weekend. I'm like, oh, okay, you sure? She's like, yeah, it's fine. I'm like, okay. And we picked up the kids and went down and got them Friday. So I didn't have to pull off that fucking my child heist. And we ended up going down to Baltimore. We stayed in a hotel, and the next day we went and we were going to go get a new hotel because the hotel we were in didn't have a pool. So that's what we told my kids. That was our weekend. We were just going to hang out at a hotel that had a swimming pool. That was the surprise. So we're going to find a new hotel the next day because the first one didn't have a swimming pool. And the shuttle took us to the cruise ship, right? And we're like, oh, look at that thing. That's cool. You want to go check it out? They have a tour. Let's take the tour. Let's take the tour of the boat. So we get in line and we go in, and they're young. They thought we were going to tour this big boat, right? My son was 5, my daughter was 9, so you can imagine. And then when we're on the deck, we eat whatever because they take all your bags, so we didn't even have to carry our bags in or nothing because they take them, and then they put them in your room for you. So we get something to eat, and then we're standing up on the top deck, the Lido deck, and we're looking out over the balcony there, and I'll never forget it. The boat starts pulling out, right? And my son starts freaking out. He's like, we're moving. Oh no, we're moving. And I was like, oh no. And I just played it off and looked stupid for a minute or two until we were definitely pulled away from shore. And I said, oh, well, I guess you're going to have to call your mom and let her know that you're not going to be back for a while. I said, who knows where we're going? I don't know. We might not be able to get off this boat for a while. I said, I guess we're stuck on here. Good thing they got a pool. Good thing they have a swimming pool. So it was funny. I mean, they were so excited to know that we were going to be on this fucking cruise for the next week. And then they called for them to call their mom and She did good. She did good whenever they said, oh, we're going on a cruise. She did really good at being happy for them. You know what I mean? Instead of being ignorant, spiteful bitch, like pissed off, she was like happy for them. But I guarantee that probably killed her inside. But she probably looks at those situations like that. Like I did that to her, right? That's how her mind works. She probably thinks that I did all of that to her, to hurt her. And that's not the case. Come on, I don't fucking care. I don't want to hurt you. I'm not a spiteful person. I go out of my way so that you don't have to be humiliated, you don't get hurt, and all this shit. I can't help it. You made the choices you made. You know what I mean? Um, could you put yourself in my shoes for fucking 2 seconds, Ashley? You know, I actually just, I've never done this before, but just last week, I finally gave her a piece of my mind and told her what somebody should have told her a long time ago. That she needs to fucking quit being such a selfish bitch and think about somebody else for a change. Anybody other than herself. Because she wanted me. She only gets a hold of me when she wants something. So I've probably talked to her 3 times in the last 3 years. Every time it was because she wanted something. Every time it ended with, you're an asshole and hanging up on me. I'm a piece of shit. Everything else. Because she didn't get it. What she wanted, I guess? I don't know. It's really strange. It's like she's not allowed to talk to me. It really does seem like she's part of the whole targeting thing because she was working with the DA. She was working with the probation officer years ago to get me thrown in jail. Then I caught her at my court hearing. I look up, I'm outside the public defender's office, and I look up, and the next floor up is where the DA's office is. And I shit you not, I look up, and there's my ex-wife standing there looking down on me. And she lives an hour and a half away, like 3 counties over. But there she is when I'm having my hearing, standing there looking down at me from outside the DA's office. So what do? I walk right up there. Of course, what are you doing, honey? Fancy seeing you here. What brings you to the DA's office? You know? And she fucking ran away. She wouldn't. She couldn't answer any questions. I parked my ass right on the bench outside the DA's office then. You know? Fuck that. I want to find out what the fuck's going on here. Hey, nobody wants to tell me. I'll just find out for myself, right? So she never came back up to the DA's office. And the same prosecutor that was assigned each one of my charges that was trying to fuck me over, Joel Politis, right? Joel Politis, in the DA's office at Cambria County Courthouse. He was the very same prosecutor assigned to all of it. Same judge for every single thing that I had, Judge Tolowitzki, right? Judge Tolowitzki, and also the same exact public defender every time I had. It was what the fuck's his name? Little Italian dude, fucking John Messina. Yeah, John Messina, right? Is his name. He's a really good attorney, really good public defender. He's probably the best in the office. I don't know I don't know all of them that good, but he's the best one I saw. But he wasn't on my side, and he's really good at being two-faced. He's really good at making you think that he's not, that he's playing for you. Really good at it. He had me convinced, man. Tricked me right into fucking signing up for probation and getting thrown in jail and everything else, and then played dumb. Oh, wait, I'm your attorney. You mean I'm supposed to be advocating for you? Oh, my bad. Here I am helping them, right? Fucking prick. Yeah, I could go. That's another video for another day. I'll show you all the evidence I have that they were all colluding together to fuck me over, right? But Joe Politis, this prosecutor, while I'm sitting outside the DA's office, he comes out, in a suit and tie, and I look over the balcony, and there's my ex-wife pacing the first floor back and forth, right in the open area of the courthouse, just walking back and forth. And so I watched, and Joe Politis comes out of the office and goes down to the first floor and goes the same way Ashley was going, same direction. So I'm only speculating, but it sure looked to me like she was meeting with the prosecutor, the same prosecutor that was assigned to each one of my cases, right? Because she never came back up to the DA's office. Her ride, because of the person that she got a ride from, I later on found out it was the person that was parked there when I pulled into my hearing they bitched at me for not putting my windows down when I had my dog in the car. And I thanked them because I didn't even realize it. And I never do that. I always put my windows down. And I was going to go in the courthouse and I was in a hurry. And this woman said, you mind giving the dog some fucking air, which I don't blame her at all. And I didn't know who she was. Here it turns out that was my ex-wife's ride, right? I found out later on. So I left and her ride was gone. So she was gone. So whatever reason she was at the DA's office that day, I guess they figured it out, right? And what do you know? Joe Pilates just happened to come out because I was sitting outside the DA's office. I wasn't moving. Now they have to protect their narcs, don't they? They got to protect their CIs and their fucking narcs and everything else. But what do they do to them whenever they don't get their way? So they tried to make me look like a criminal, tried to make me look bad, all this shit. And they held charges over her head from 2017. So I remember when she got in trouble in Cambria County with bath salts and drugs or whatever in theft, right? Retail theft. Well, she later on she moved to Blair County, and they I guess allowed her to do this. And she was in Blair County, and she got caught a DUI. She got a DUI driving some and got in trouble driving somebody around trying to sell bath salts or something like that. She got another possession and a reckless driving. I think she wrecked her van or something, and I think she got a DUI or something. But she got probation in this county too. So here she is. I didn't know you could do this, but she's on probation in two separate counties at the same time for the same thing. And what does she do? She moves two more counties over and just absconds probation completely. Just completely says, fuck all that, I'm out. She just goes two counties over, right? And the numbers thing, you can't make up the numbers thing, right? I'm not going to give you the street address, but wow, I kind of it's let's just say it's all ones, okay? It's like 1111 First Avenue or something like that. It's something like that, but you can't make this shit up. It's like all ones. And I say about the numbers all the time. How does that happen? I lived at 911 Beach Avenue. That's me and her. That's the house that I was buying, 911 Beach Avenue. That I ended up losing that house whenever I went to jail. And it just, you can't make this shit up, right? Like all the different um, synchronicities, like there are years in the making. It's just crazy. And I looked it up one day. I typed our names into the gematria calculator online. And when you punch in my name, you get a number, right? I believe it was 422. I believe is what my number was. 422, I think. I think that's what it was. But regardless, I put my ex-wife's name in there, her maiden name, right? And what do you know? It gets the same exact number. So we share the exact same life path number, or not life path number, whatever it is. I don't know. It's the equivalent of our names, after running through the Jewish gematria calendar. And it's just little things like that. It's like, it seems like there's got to be something to some of these things with the numbers. There's too many crazy coincidences, right, to take place that for anybody that hears all of them to sit there and say, yeah, just that's normal. That's just all coincidences. When you hear them all and you look into them and you realize that these are all actually true things that happen, you realize that there's something behind that. There's an architect behind that. There's a design behind all this, right? It's you know, it's a universe of numbers. Everything is pre-established, preordained. Everything is, yeah, very meticulously designed to produce a certain outcome. I full-heartedly, 100%, truly, 111% truly fucking believe that with all my heart, without a doubt. You can't make that shit up. And my birthday, okay, is 12/12, right? 12/12, 1984, right? You got the George Orwell book, 1984. It's literally what we're living in today. It's like the George Orwell. It's so close. It's like, it's eerie how similar our society is today to that book, 1984. And you take 12/12, right? Now you hear about the God's chosen ones, right? And I keep seeing the numbers everywhere, all the time. I can't explain it. It's not. I'm not seeing something that's not there. I'm seeing the numbers I could show you, and I don't know anybody that could like show you examples of these numbers everywhere all day long. It's not like I'm looking for them. They just present themselves to me. But what is 1212, right? What's 12 times 12? 144. And that's another number I see every fucking where I go. 144, 144. It's these little signs and synchronicities, right? You can think I'm crazy all you want. I don't care. I know I'm not crazy, and I'm getting these signs and shit, and it's not from human intervention. It's not some dork with some some secret technology making me look at the clock at 222 or 333. Like these all these little things. I'm sorry, but it just doesn't make any sense that somebody's doing it for what, right? And then you get people saying, "Oh, they want you to think that it's that. They want you to think that it's this." I get that. I understand that they do try to walk people down certain paths, and it's MK Ultra bullshit, right? But I'm saying I see that, but I experience beyond that. I experience shit that's way beyond that. That no mortal human being can make happen. It's not something that they orchestrated or something. These little something happens, and then 10 years later, just because this one little detail happened 10 years ago, it causes this thing here to happen. And had that one little detail never taken place, you would have never discovered this other big, huge revelation thing 10 years from now. And you look at the steps, and you go back and back and back and back, and it's like you can't make this shit up. It's fucking nuts. It's crazy. And if you're like a my brother who mocks Jesus Christ, or you're like Nerve Gorilla who thinks that there's no God, and that we're just here by happenstance, we're just a chance, spin of the wheel, and what do you know? All this life just formed on this planet, just like that, and it's just happened, right? We just rose out of the muck, right? The what do they call it? The pre, the whatever the fucking word is, I forget. But that's crazy. Sorry, that's crazy to me. I think you're insane if you think that we're all here just by chance, and that this isn't some part of some grand architect's, you know, major, huge design. It's all part of a bigger plan. It's all happened already. Past, present, future is already it's already set. That's hard to grasp. I get it. That's hard for you to understand, Nerve Gorilla, because ever since you were born, they shoved a calendar in your face and a watch and said, "Here, you need to learn how to tell time, and you need to learn there's 7 days in a week and there's 12 months in a year, right?" So that nobody could tell you any different. Nobody could tell you that there's actually 10 months in a year instead of 12, right? Or 13, right? Nobody could tell you that the future's already written, right? Because you've been programmed. Do you understand? You've been programmed. It's science, yeah. And the program it's designed in such a way, right? So that the people like Nerve Gorilla and like my brother Ed, right? It's designed in such a way that they will be their own demise. If they don't wake up, right? The program has them. The program controls them. The program is what is, creating these agents, right? That are like controlled opposition. They don't even know it. They'll come on and they'll make jokes and they'll say, "Oh, this is great. This person's schizophrenic. Ha ha ha." And they don't realize that they're working for the program. You know what I mean? It's inevitable. Like, there's a lot of people that are waking up. They don't ever go back to sleep. Okay. You realize once you see this, and once you realize what the truth is, you don't go back. So you have to realize then that it's inevitable. Okay. More and more people are waking up every day. You're the minority now. You understand? You are the minority. your simple little fucking simpleton brain can't imagine or comprehend that there's any higher power, there's anything that exists that we don't already understand or have figured out, right? Well, there's not a fucking peer-reviewed science journal paper about it, so it doesn't exist. Can't exist. Doesn't happen. Nope. All these historical records that used to be thought of as legends, myths, stories that they're now finding are just actually historical records, true events. You guys just want to ignore that. Oh, don't pay attention to that. You're gullible if you believe that. You're just gullible. And then, see, you're part of the program attacking anybody who's waking up to the program, who sees it all. Okay? There, listen, you look at history, look at all the different accounts of people that prophesized shit and then it came true. How did that happen? How did that happen? They're just lucky guessers, right? Right? And I'm just a gullible idiot for believing it. That somebody just made that up, and I should be able to realize that people make stuff up, right? Come on. You guys are going to wake up. Come on. Wake up. Come on. I'm sure that you're probably experiencing it right now. You're experiencing certain things that are causing you to stop and just breathe for a second and scratch your head and say, did that really just happen? Right? And that's how it starts. You're probably starting to experience these synchronicities or these little things that you want to say, tell people about. You want to be like, I just this happened and this happened, but you don't want to sound like the crazy person that you're making us out to be. So you're stuck in between a rock and a hard place now. You've Nobody cares. You can come out and admit that you made a mistake or that it's okay to say that you don't know. Listen, it's okay to say that science doesn't have everything figured out. It's okay for us to say, we don't know what is going on, but it's a I'm not afraid to admit that something's going on. This is not normal. Okay, there's so many. There's too much to deny. Too much to deny. So I do think that you guys are starting to realize that. Nerve, Ed, anybody else who's asleep, who's part of the program, you know, you're running out of time. Put it that way. I do believe that you're running out of time. Look how crazy the politics and everything else is. Can't you see what they're doing? It's a big money grab. They're just keeping everybody fucking distracted, right? So you're happy and distracted. And you have something to fill your fucking stupid brain with. While they just rob us blind and do all this shit, and at some point they're gonna say, "Oh, see ya. We got this big ship and we're taking off, and we forgot to, tell you about it." And they're gonna try to go underground or take off because they knew something was coming and they forgot to tell us. They didn't want to tell everybody. All they were worried about was distracting everybody long enough so they can get all their fucking shit in order and all their ducks in order to save their own ass. Right? That's it. If you can't see that's what's going on, if you can't tell, I mean, come on. They launched these in the last 10 years. How many expeditions did they launch and spend billions of dollars on to study asteroids, right? And meteors, right? Wake up. Duh. Why would they do that? Why do you think they'd do that? Why do you think they would, without even question it, without even, you hear about it after it's already in place, right? There was no discussion about it. They just did it. What convinced them to spend all that money to just go ahead and do that? Because they know something that they're not telling us. Dumbasses, come on, wake up. There's something they know. They obviously know. It's getting so obvious now. If you don't start questioning shit, then you're just gonna be the, the pawn that they gladly sacrifice so that they can live an extra day. That's what's going on. You guys gotta wake up because we need you guys influential non-believers. We need you influential non-believers to help wake the rest of the fucking people up. Seriously, all you gotta do is have the discussion. Stop shutting it down. Stop stop shutting down skepticism and healthy skepticism and curiosity and optimism, and stop shutting all that shit down and claiming that you have the answers. shut up for 2 seconds and allow other people to educate you or to enlighten you on some information and have the decency to give them a benefit of the doubt instead of calling them a liar. Okay? And then maybe, just maybe, you'll snap out of it and you'll wake up too. Okay? I don't know what's controlling people, but something is. Something is controlling people, or they're all in on it. Okay? These My friends wouldn't have sat there and gave me the wrong advice and went out of their way to tell me to make sure my pistol is within view, right? Is where the cops can see it. Like several people told me this, like they know. So, like, how do you know that? Did you have a situation where you learned that? What, where did you learn that? And why are these people telling me this right now, going out of their way? So, whenever I ask the state cops, they're gun people, right? The state cops, when I'm coming out of the woods, going back to the beginning of the story, and they're like, yeah, technically it's a felony. They were going to keep my gun. I said, well, I was just cleared my background report through the PICS check system or whatever, where they check your background report, like the other day. I said, I have the approval paperwork. He said, well, I still have to keep it and do my own background report. They can't just give me my gun back because if something happens, if I go kill somebody, whatever, they were liable to do that check. So, but we had a decent talk right then because they're advocates for the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms. They're just doing their job. And state cops, I've had nothing but good interactions with. But they did tell me, because I asked, they said, as soon as you got in that car with that pistol, you committed a felony, you know, technically. I said, well, okay, what's the state police's stance on that then? Because, I mean, it's not like everybody walks to the range to fire their guns. And not everybody has a concealed carry permit. So what do that. So what do you guys do then? What would you prefer? Because obviously you don't want to go around handing out felonies to fellow Second Amendment advocates, and. And he said, yeah, no, you're right. He said, we would prefer that your firearm be in a locked case, in a closed locked box, right, with without the firing pin or without the magazine and any ammo. Have that in a separate place, complete separate box, separate lock box. Like, have maybe the ammo and the clips in your locked glove box, while your locked gun, your gun case or whatever you have, lockbox for your guns is in the trunk, locked up. You know, he said that's how we would prefer because then it's not really a gun if you take it apart. It's just gun parts. It's only a concealed firearm whenever it's all together and it's got the ammo in it, right? Well, it doesn't have to have ammo in it, but you know what I'm talking about. So it made sense, and I was like, oh, okay, thanks. I'm glad you told me that because everybody else was telling me the exact opposite. And I said, yeah, my buddies were telling me that to make sure I had it like in the open and stuff. And you could tell when I told them this, they're like, no, 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 right? They said, no, whatever you do, don't do that. That'll get you shot and killed. See what I'm saying? So you see how everything happens for a reason. That happened. I learned about that, right? And I learned about that with plenty of time before I would get pulled over with my concealed carry, and Dill would try to escalate the situation, would try to get me to touch my gun or something so he could blow my head off. Like he tried to do that. I'm convinced nobody's gonna tell me that he didn't try to do this. He's a super trooper. You're not gonna find an interaction with a police officer where he's like, "Give me your gun now, give me your gun now," right? And then just expect somebody to grab the gun and hand it to him. Like, come on, it's fucking asinine. Even thinking about that. But that's how it went down. I wanted to get the body cam. I asked for it, and then all of a sudden they said, how's a disorderly conduct sound? See what I'm saying? Isn't that funny? All of a sudden, I'm not such a bad guy. Just forget about it. Forget about that body cam shit. And then Dillhole, you go to another town. We don't want you in Patton anymore. And he gets transferred to another town. What do you know? All coincidences, right? Those are all just coincidences. I'm sure. I'm sure they are. I'm sure it's just my delusional brain, you know, finding patterns where patterns don't exist, right? I'm sure that's what it is. Yeah. So don't even listen to anything I have to say. Don't listen to my rants, right? It can be nothing more than just a chance coincidence, just a chance happening. That's all it is. So don't listen to the crazy TI, right? The crazy fucking whack job crackhead fucking criminal felon woman beater you know, targeted Patton. Don't listen to anything he has to say, right? Or you'll get dumber and you'll lose brain cells. So remember that. Stay in school, drink your milk, don't do drugs. I'll be here all week. Be good or be good at it.